In the kingdom of Lanster, within the Oran Empire, inside a classroom filled with dim light, the teacher stood before the students with a gentle but convincing voice. As long as you focus, you will feel the flow of magic. But Little Lantern, also called Little, just sat there quietly with eyes full of doubt. He had been stuck in kindergarten-level magic classes for 8 years, and he didn't believe those words. While his peers had already mastered basic spells, Little couldn't even sense the magical particles floating around him. He Little clenched his hands, his heart heavy. He couldn't let things continue like this. To uncover the truth behind his family's mystery, he had to become a sage-level mage. Lost in thought, an object suddenly flew and hit him square in the face. The kids around burst into laughter and hurried over. "Sorry," they said with affected voices. "We're just so passionate about practicing magic," but their eyes gleamed with mockery. They deliberately targeted Little, mocking him as a noble who was useless with magic, something considered a natural talent among nobles in this world. The kids continued their cruel teasing. Little gritted his teeth, powerless to respond. Just then a knight named Ka appeared. His shining sword pressed against the neck of the ringleader boy, who panicked. Little quickly intervened with a deep but firm voice, lowering the sword. Knight Ka reluctantly obeyed, allowing the kids to escape. Little sternly looked at Seeker. The king's sword given to him wasn't meant to be used against commoners. Kay bowed apologetically, then revealed the true reason for his visit. He handed Little a letter from Lord Oliver, who had helped him go into hiding after the tragedy that took his parents' lives. Lord Oliver knew well of Little's impotence with magic and had silently supported him ever since. Little's mansion was greeted by Gaylanter, the uncle he called father, to conceal his identity. The two entered the study, where Gaylanter cast a spell on a paper bird from the letter. The lively paper bird spoke, "I have something that will help Little learn magic." A magic book appeared and flew straight into Little's hands. He tightly gripped the book. Memories of countless failures in magic flooded back, weighing heavily on his heart. Gaylanter noticed the sadness on his face and softened his voice to comfort him. "You can stay and pretend to be my son as long as you want." He repeated the heartbreaking story. Little's father, who deeply loved him, could neither betray the family nor abandon him. That mystery drove Little to become a sage mage to seek answers. That night, lying on his bed, Little stared intently at the magic book. Childhood memories flooded back. His father was rarely home, but every time he returned, he brought a gift that made Little shine with happiness. The last time he saw his father, he promised that after the expedition, the family would always be together, but he never came back, and his mother also disappeared. Fighting alone, Little silently vowed the only way was to learn magic strong enough to uncover the truth. He gripped the book tightly, hoping it would be the key to open the path ahead. Little sat down, took a deep breath, and began meditating, determined to try once more. Blue glows gradually surrounded him, sparkling like stars. But his eyes were closed, unaware of the miracle happening. He sighed, thinking he had failed again, until glowing orbs appeared floating in his mind. Suddenly, Little snapped awake, feeling the flow of magic for the first time. Hope ignited within him. His heart fluttered with happiness. But suddenly a sharp pain seized his chest. Little coughed up blood, his body trembling as if about to explode. No, he couldn't die here. He gritted his teeth and summoned all his strength to fight the terrifying feeling. Suddenly, everything went dark. Little was transported into a strange, chaotic space, confused and trying to find a way out. He suddenly felt an object in his hand, a radiant red egg, warm to the touch. Shocked, a voice echoed in his mind. "Hello, Little. I am your steward. I have waited 10 years. The system continued. "You own a place called a dragon farm." Immediately, Little was transported to a small island bathed in magical light. The information overwhelmed him. "Dragons are very dangerous," the system announced. The egg before him was his first dragon, Cold Butler. "You must raise this dragon before returning to your world." At that moment, Little angrily shouted inside. "Raising a dragon? No way, it will eat me alive." But the egg began to crack. The butler urged, "Let it bleed on it, or it will swallow you whole." With no other choice, Little bit his thumb to let blood drip onto the cracking egg. A bright red light flared up. The system announced successful imprinting. The little red dragon hatched, its tiny eyes still covered by the eggshell. Little was stunned, unable to believe this tiny creature would become the most fearsome monster. The baby dragon staggered and bumped into his knee pitifully. Little bent down gently to remove the shell piece on its head. But the baby dragon suddenly went wild, growling as it was touched, kicking Little in the face. He staggered, thinking silently, this really is a dragon. A series of notifications appeared. Little received 1,000 gold coins and 5 experience points for owning his first dragon. Gold in the system equals real gold and can be used to expand the farm. A new task appeared to create a fiery habitat for the baby dragon costing 100 gold. Hesitantly, Little still bought the habitat. While navigating the system, the baby dragon groaned, rejecting everything from him, making Little even more confused. Then Little placed the fiery habitat next to the small island, and as soon as it was completed, the system announced an additional 5 experience points and 50 gold. This habitat limits 500 gold per day and helps the baby dragon level up once a day. The fiery baby dragon Jira immediately rushed in, happily swimming in lava, its mouth making the sound Jira Gira. Little smiled and decided to name it Jira. Soon after receiving the habitat, Jira curled up and fell asleep. Taking advantage of this, Little completed more tasks assigned by the system. He ordered Long Lun as food, finished the tutorial, then snapped his fingers as a flash of light returned him to the real world. Then Little's body collapsed onto the bed. He opened his eyes, startled to see 3 people surrounding him, Gwen, Luther, Knight, Ka, and one more person, all with worried looks. Little was surprised and asked why everyone was in his room. They revealed that he had been hanging on the ceiling, accidentally blowing it away. Little was confused and didn't understand why they were joyful. Gaylantan explained excitedly, "You released an extremely strong magical surge when you fainted." Little doubted but tried using magic. This time he clearly felt the flow of magic astonishing him, surely thanks to Sir Oliver's book. While everyone was still celebrating, Little cut in and turned to Knight Ka, "Follow the instructions in this book." But Ka shook his head, feeling nothing, and Gaylanter too. Little suddenly realized only he was allowed to discover the secrets of the book. Whenever he tried to tell anyone, the system immediately stopped him, forcing him to stay silent. Then Little continued training, but his body still couldn't withstand the magical power and coughed up blood again. The system coldly announced, "Your magical level is proportional to the dragon's level. Jira hasn't reached level 1 yet. If you absorb too much magic, your body will explode." Little stubbornly refused to return to the farm, but then a notification appeared. Jira's food supply is insufficient. It is weakening. The system gloomily said, "You are an irresponsible farm owner." Then Galanter noticed something unusual when Little stopped eating, but he quickly replied, "It was just a matter of taste, uncle." He continued sharing the plan to send Little to the St. Iris Magic Academy, the most prestigious school in the Oran Empire, where Sir Oliver is the vice principal, and also where Little's father graduated. He was radiant and excited about this opportunity, but the system warned Jira's health is critically low. If it starves to death, the farm owner will have to transform into a dragon egg to compensate. Little panicked, not expecting such a terrible punishment, and hurriedly took care of Jira, feeding it every day. Jira's appetite was enormous, but finally, after much effort, it leveled up to 1. Little tried to pat its head, but Jira growled and pushed his hand away. After a while of playing, the system announced, "You have become a qualified level 1 fire dragon farm owner. You can now use magic." Then the system unlocked a new feature, the training room. Immediately, Little was transported to a strange space where he was asked to meditate while balancing on a wobbly board. If he lost balance, a 40-ton hammer would fall. Sure enough, Little fell the first time hit by the hammer. His body shackled to the board to prevent him from escaping his first task, meditating for more than 5 seconds. A sweating Little struggled to keep his balance. After many efforts, he passed, but the difficulty increased sharply. Now he had to meditate on even more unstable surfaces. After 7 days of persistence, the system announced he had passed the training course. Little decided to try feeling magic. A magic circle flashed in his hand and a tiny fireball shot out. He muttered disappointedly that it was too weak and decided to extinguish the flame before anyone saw. Little suddenly saw Jack the boy living with Knight Ka and Green Lantern looking at him excitedly and running to the mansion to report that the master could use magic. Little hurried after him, embarrassed by the tiny fireball. But as he neared Jack, the fireball suddenly flared up, surprising him. He needed more practice. The same day, Gaylantan received an acceptance letter from St. Iris Academy and happily announced it, making Little excited. After some preparations, he set off and was warmly sent off by everyone. The journey to the academy lasted a month. Jack led the way during the day, while Little trained non-stop at night. In his focus, he didn't notice Jira, the young dragon, had grown to level 3 and reached level 1 with a stronger, fiery breath. Little happily led Jira out to explore the world. Suddenly, he was transported back to the real world, just as a mysterious figure with a black dragon sensed his presence and exclaimed in surprise why there was a dragon outside the Rift Valley. Jira opened his eyes excitedly, observing the surroundings, delighted by the space larger than the farm. Little suggested flying around, Bonding with Jira, he thought that if he couldn't escape the system, he would make the most of it and was determined to raise the dragon to become a powerful mage. Suddenly an arrow struck them. Peter suspected it was a dragon hunter. But upon investigating, he discovered a robbery. Jack's cries for help echoed. The boy was captured along with 2 guards surrounded by venomous snakes. Earlier, Jack and Lolita, who had grown thin from training, had gone out in search of food. When they encountered a caravan, they were suddenly attacked by bandits. The guards were defeated, and the trade union leader Lucas was captured. Anyone who resisted was bitten by snakes and turned into a corpse. Lucas begged, but the bandit leader coldly ordered the killing to continue. Jack despairingly thought he could no longer serve Little and prepared to face death. Just as the snake lunged, a giant fireball appeared, incinerating the snakes. Jack escaped. The flames looked up to see Little descending from the sky, stepping directly on the bandit leader. Jack cheered joyfully, but they faced a large group of bandits. Some bandits panicked at the fireball, mistaking Little for a 3rd-tier mage, but the bandit leader, a 3rd-tier knight, reassured them there was nothing to fear. He confidently knew that mages needed time to cast spells, while he had an advantage in close combat. Then Little realized the advantage of the 3rd-tier knight trying to dodge attacks, but the bandit leader's speed was too fast. One hit struck him, making Little stagger. Standing up with a sore body, the damage was obvious. He couldn't dodge forever. He gritted his teeth and began chanting to cast a spell, but this gave the bandit another chance to attack. He sneered that a mage could never be a match for a knight. He lifted Little and threw him hard against a rock, but despite the pain, Little remained conscious. Suddenly, the system rang out because the user was fighting with a magic dragon the dragon would synchronize. Little could use Jira's skills like Shield Bite or Fireball. He recalled this skill. The system confirmed he could use them. But while distracted, the bandit delivered another kick to Little's face. He roared, deciding to finish this game. Just before the sword struck down, Little activated synchronization. The system spun and launched a fireball. The flame blazed fiercely, forcing the bandit to retreat. The sword melted in an instant. The tide turned. The once arrogant bandits now changed their attitude. Their eyes showed fear mixed with respect, but Little didn't care. Angry shouting was enough. He launched another fireball, blowing them all away. Lucas, the caravan leader, stepped forward to thank Little for saving them. He led him to a mysterious item, his voice excited. "This is a token of gratitude." He pulled back a curtain to reveal a blonde young woman locked in a cage, a fairy from the spirit forest. At this moment, Little immediately recognized her identity from her physical features and occupation. Lucas boasted that no man could resist her charm. He told how he found her on the battlefield where mercenaries fought over her, and she could be sold for 1,000 gold. Later, Lucas suggested Little join the merchant guild. He believed Little's strength would help grow the business, but Little's eyes blazed with anger as he moved toward the cage. He thanked him for the offer, but immediately cast a fire spell. The flames burned the ropes, freeing the fairy. Lucas panicked and tried to stop him, but it was too late. Little growled that he treated others' lives like merchandise. Lucas stammered an explanation, but Little threw a small fireball at him, causing Lucas to flee in terror. The guards didn't dare resist and ran away too. Little reached out, soothing the trembling fairy. "Don't be afraid, I'm here to save you." After a moment of hesitation, she trusted him and said, "Thank you. Thank you for saving me from them." At this point, Little smiled, introduced himself, and asked her name. The fairy girl was attracted by his gallantry, blushing and hiding her face behind her blonde hair. Little gently said she didn't have to answer if she didn't want to. Little was about to leave, waving goodbye to the fairy girl, but before he could step out, she shouted in a trembling voice, "I'm Nicole." She was afraid that if she didn't say her name, Little would abandon and drive her away. They returned to the carriage where the others were busy cooking. Nicole was so hungry she couldn't help but eat almost all the food. Little didn't mind. On the contrary, he smiled warmly, happy to have helped her. He gently asked Nicole why she didn't return to her clan and instead stayed with them. Nicole lowered her head sadly. "I can't return. I was too mischievous and broke the fairy law forbidding interference with the human world. When I returned to the base, we were discovered by explorers and the whole clan fled. I tried to hide but was caught by the guards." She continued with a pained look. "They saw the herbs I collected and chased me away. I stumbled and knew that if I was caught, things would be very bad. I tried to escape many times but failed every time." At this point, Little looked at her and asked why she wasn't afraid of him, even though he was also human. Nicole looked up with sincere eyes. "Because you're not like them. You are my benefactor." His words made Little blush awkwardly. He cleared his throat and said she could stay. They would look for clues about her clan. He shared his trip's purpose to St. Iris Academy to study magic. and suggested she could pretend to be his maid to avoid suspicion. Hearing the word maid, Nicole panicked, covering her body, her face turning pale. Little quickly explained, not wanting her to misunderstand. After understanding, she nodded in agreement, still shy. Little left her alone and stepped out of the carriage. Jack curiously asked his master why he was sleeping outside. "I thought you wanted to do something with that fairy girl." Little shook his head without answering. 3 days later, the carriage arrived at St. Iris Academy. Suddenly, the system appeared, giving a new mission to explore the academy to unlock the water dragon egg. He thought about facing the other dragons. Little looked momentarily gloomy. The system continued, "The more dragons you have, the stronger you become." It revealed his status as a first-class mage possessing a fire dragon. There are 6 types of dragon eggs: fire, water, wind, earth, light, and darkness. If collected all, Little will master the entire elemental magic system of explosive power. He hurried into the academy, not forgetting to say goodbye to Jack and Nicole. Entering St. Iris Academy, Little was overwhelmed. A delivery person flew past on a broomstick. Little said in surprise, "The academy has delivery by broomstick." Around him, students were diligently practicing magic. Magic circles sparkled, and all kinds of strange things made him marvel. Today, Little was called by a man to the entrance exam room. In the room, everyone was whispering, expecting the student recommended by Sir Oliver to reach at least an intermediate level. When Peter entered, an elderly professor greeted him with a warm, deep voice. "I will conduct the test. Are you ready?" He pointed to a blue crystal orb, signaling Peter to place his hand on it. The 3 leaders hesitated, their minds drifting to the dragon farm. What if someone discovered the secret? The system immediately reassured them the magic crystal only measures talent and cannot detect the farm. At that moment, Little took a deep breath and placed his hand on the crystal, hoping his father's talent, a magic genius, had been passed down to him. The crystal shook violently, emitting a brilliant red light. The professor cheered excitedly. Supreme talent. He grew even more enthusiastic when he learned Sir Oliver had personally recommended him. Little believed he had just discovered a genius. But when the test finished, the crystal reported weak magical talent and poor firepower. Everyone in the workshop, including the leader system, cheerfully interrupted to remind him that magical talent is proportional to dragon level. You need to be stronger than the leader. Blushing and disappointed, Little quietly left the room and returned to the dragon farm where he saw Long Lun ready. But Jira, now much bigger, growled, demanding a larger living space. Little sighed and patiently comforted him. "Just a little longer. I need 2 days to gather enough gold." Jira was angry because he had promised the same thing 2 days ago. Little stuffed it full of food, silently thinking that now it looked more like a child than ever before. He pondered ways to upgrade the living environment. The small environment only generated 500 gold per day, while the large environment required 10,000 gold. At this point, Little was almost desperate, but then suddenly sat up, determined, "I can do part-time work to earn gold." Just as he was preparing to go to the Knights Academy, his phone rang. "Breakfast is ready." Little opened the door, stunned, seeing Nicole in a maid outfit, radiant among blooming flowers. He accidentally stared at her, making Nicole embarrassed. "Do I look weird?" He quickly replied, "No, you look fine." Little apologized for making her pretend to be a maid, but Nicole smiled brightly, then suddenly ran up and hugged him tightly. Little felt shy, his heart pounding. At the academy, Little realized the atmosphere had changed. The entrance exam results from yesterday made everyone around rude, their eyes filled with contempt toward him. Then Little entered his first scheduled class, but before he could settle in, a woman blocked his way. She was Teacher Risa, the class supervisor. She sternly scolded him, "You can't just barge in here and use your connections to get into the academy." She even forbade Little from attending the class, causing other students to mock and ridicule him. Cornered, Little quietly asked the system to analyze the magical talent of his classmates. The results showed that none of them were superior to him, not even the dog quietly sitting in the class. Before leaving, Little stopped and looked Teacher Risa straight in the eye, his voice full of challenge. "What's today's class topic? I'm ready to prove I'm smarter than all the students here." The students burst out laughing, continuing to mock him, but Risa raised her hand to signal silence, her eyes flashing with curious interest. She issued a challenge. "I give you 1 week to prepare to face my magic class. If you place first in the exam, you can join the class, if not, leave St. Iris Academy." What seemed like a simple bet turned out to be serious. The system immediately created a new mission matching Risa's requirement: place first in the exam to enter the class and receive 1 water dragon egg shard, a total of 10 shards needed. Little calculated that since the system set the mission, it surely wasn't impossible. He nodded in acceptance, surprising Risa. She thought to herself that the rumors about him might be wrong. From that moment, Little received special attention from her. At the academy library, Little searched through books on magic potions because he wasn't allowed to attend class. The magnificent library shelves packed with books overwhelmed him. But while searching, a few students noticed him and began whispering. Little frowned, trying to keep calm, just wanting to study, not cause trouble. Suddenly, a sharp-voiced girl said, "Be quiet. You seniors don't know how to stay silent in the library, shameful." She threatened to deduct points, causing the students to panic and run away. At that moment, Peter looked at her with silent gratitude. Turns out she was the library advisor. She turned around. "Sorry, I feel bad. I'm really terrible for not keeping the reading environment quiet." At this moment, Little was stunned by her sense of responsibility, stammering, "She's too serious." Taking the opportunity, he asked where the books on magic potions were. She smiled and introduced herself. "Just call me Vivian." Chanting a few spells, she made the necessary books glow and fly to them. Vivian gave all the potion books in the academy to Little, but warned, "The exam is practical. Just reading books probably won't be enough to pass." Little nodded, his eyes determined and resolute to prepare for the challenge ahead. Suddenly, the system rang out, giving advice on how to pass the exam. Little turned to Vivian confidently and said, "You don't need to worry, I believe in myself." He thanked her for her help, despite rumors that she was the first to support him. "After I pass the exam, I will treat you to a meal." Vivian smiled, but when Little left the library, her eyes darkened momentarily. A mysterious person had asked her to approach him, and her earlier apology wasn't out of mentorship responsibility, but for another purpose. At the academy dormitory, Little diligently read books all day, eager to learn how to make magic potions. Only 1 week left, he could not hesitate. 5 days later, exhausted but persistent, Little discovered that the key to making magic potions required stable mental strength. He tried adding dragon saliva as a supplementary ingredient, knowing it would significantly boost the potion's effectiveness. Ordinary people could also make potions if they used high-quality ingredients. He silently vowed to master the knowledge. On exam day, Little successfully crafted a magic potion bottle. Some students shouted loudly, "Little cheated!" But Professor Risa sternly punished them for spreading baseless rumors. Little appreciated her actions, and Risa was astonished that he managed to create such a high-quality potion. She used magic to inspect the potion and declared, "If no one surpasses this quality, Little will be first." But Risa didn't stop there. She demanded he prove he didn't cheat by making a new potion on the stage in front of everyone. The students were gleeful, wanting to put Little in a tough spot, whispering, "He used dragon saliva." Some refused to accept that Little surpassed them in just 7 days. Little just smiled calmly. The secret he kept was that time in the dragon farm passed 7 times slower than the real world, allowing him to train exponentially. Then Little accepted the challenge and stepped onto the stage. He added ingredients with skillful movements. Though he had failed countless times in the farm, he had honed his skills to perfection. Risa observed and realized Little controlled his mental strength superbly, far beyond any student she had taught. Finally, he completed the new potion, matching the quality of the first. Risa asked in amazement, "Were you born with such strong concentration abilities?" Little hesitated, embarrassed. "I'm not a born genius. It's the harsh training process in the dragon farm that forged me." He recalled the hard training days, his eyes watering with emotion. Professor Risa recognized Little's extraordinary effort to surpass natural talent and felt regret for almost expelling him from the academy. She sincerely apologized. "I was wrong to judge you." She revealed there were 5 other students who made potions of similar quality. But because Little self-studied in the shortest time, she gave him the highest score. The system announced the mission complete. Little left the exam room, his body tired but his heart excited. He decided to relax and reward himself for the victory and remained determined not to give up on the academy, preserving his father's legacy. With the remaining dragon saliva, he planned to create high-quality magic potions to sell to merchants for thousands of gold, enough to upgrade Jira's living environment. Yes, the biggest problem at the academy had been solved. Little remembered his promise to treat Vivian to a meal. He went to the library but didn't see her. Suddenly, a woman appeared from behind and asked if he was Little. He felt strange, tried to push her away, but still confirmed, "I am Little." She informed him that Vivian was behind the academy building, preparing to confess something to him. Her words made Little confused, unsure how to react. The system suddenly displayed a mission for Vivian to carry as the princess to receive the water dragon egg shard. Little got angry thinking the mission was ridiculous and swung his arm to tear the notice board in two. The woman looked at him as if he was the strange one. She urged him to hurry, saying Vivian would wait until he arrived. She summoned a bee to tell Little to follow, but Little was suspicious, feeling something was off. Vivian wouldn't act like this, especially since we've only met him once. Little hesitated, doubting the strange mission from the system and the woman's invitation. Vivian couldn't confess his feelings after just one meeting. Is this a joke? But when following the bee, he heard a voice from afar, thinking it was Vivian. He rushed toward the sound to a central academy area where there was a mysterious gate. Why does the academy have this? The system notified that Vivian had entered the gate and was waiting for others to join. While Little was still confused, a powerful magical force suddenly hit him from behind. He quickly turned around, but it was too late. The magic pushed him crashing into the gate. Notification appeared: Little has stepped into the gate. The attacker revealed himself. The woman in the library was actually a man using magic to disguise his identity. He growled with jealous eyes. I'm bullied by seniors. No one protects me. Someone like you gets help from Vivian. He planned to make both Little and Vivian despair. On the other side of the gate, Little was shocked to see sharp spikes sprouting from the ground. Looking up, he was horrified to find Vivian tied up, high-mouthed, gagged, struggling to break free from chains. Before he could react, Little felt a cold breeze behind him. He turned to face a giant magical beast emerging from the gate. It roared and howled, shaking the ground so hard Little nearly fell into the spikes. A magical beast inside the academy. Little was stunned, but the beast gave him no time to think and charged like a storm. Knowing he could die if he didn't dodge, Little gathered strength and jumped to avoid the attack. The ground cracked wide under the force, forcing him to brace himself. The beast was terrifyingly strong, but Little was surprised to find he could jump higher than usual. He suddenly remembered that completing the earlier mission had promoted him to a level 2 mage, and just one level increased his power this much. Confidence surged. He believed he could defeat the beast, but as soon as he landed, it lunged with sharp teeth, nearly biting him. Luckily, Little dodged just in time, realizing his body was now fast enough to keep up with the beast's speed. The mage's weakness was gone. He decided to counterattack. Little cast a fireball. The flames blazed fiercely, knocking the beast down onto the sharp spikes. He cheered, happy his attack was effective. But the joy was short-lived as the chains binding Vivian started breaking one by one. She fell straight toward the spikes. Little rushed to save her, but was too late. Luckily, a few remaining chains held her suspended narrowly, saving her life. At this moment, Little angrily blamed himself. I was so focused on fighting, I forgot about Vivian. Quickly analyzing, he realized when the beast fell, it destroyed some spikes, causing the chains to loosen. If the spikes break, the chains will snap. Little thought of how to destroy the spikes while keeping Vivian safe. He shouted, Vivian, wait for me. I'll call other mages in the academy for help. Vivian tried to say something, but only muffled sounds came from her gagged mouth. Peter turned to run back to the gate, but the entrance had vanished. He was trapped. He remembered the woman who pushed him into the gate. She was probably behind this trap. Why did he want to kill us? Before he could find the answer, the beast roared, stood up, and charged at Little with terrifying speed. Then Little pushed aside all distractions and immediately cast another fireball at the beast. The system announced the Phantom Wolf was defeated, earning extra experience points. He asked the system about the Phantom Wolf, but it replied coldly, figure it out yourself. Little angrily wanted to grab the system and throw it, but suddenly noticed a purple orb falling from the wolf's body. The orb floated toward Vivian, hovering near her. Little had a sudden thought restrain the wolf. The orb will take Vivian to safety, but destroying the spikes will break the chains, and she will fall. He was pleased with the discovery, but before he could celebrate, a roar echoed. The Phantom Wolf split into two fierce, growling beasts. Little was stunned. This made things even harder. He suddenly remembered information from the student handbook. The trial area is for students ranked 153 and above, where mock battles with magical beasts take place. If you pass, participants are automatically sent outside the gate. This seems similar. With no other choice, Little decided to fight. He continuously cast fireballs to take down each wolf, accumulating experience points. The goal was to keep Vivian safe until she could be transported away. But over time, the wolves kept getting more numerous. Each wolf defeated split into two. Little was injured, his body weakening, pushed to the edge of the cliff. I knew this would happen. When a wolf charged, he suddenly remembered he could use all the dragon skills. Besides the fireball, there was also a shield and claws. Immediately, Little activated the shield, creating a small barrier to block the wolves' attacks. Little's shield began to crack under the relentless assault of the wolves. They advanced, growling, their eyes blazing red. This couldn't end like this. Little gritted his teeth and struggled to push a wolf off the cliff. He activated his claw skill, swinging his hands to fend off the remaining wolves. Suddenly, the system notified that a wolf phantom had been defeated. Little was surprised, since his claws didn't deal much damage. Then he realized the wolf that had fallen off the cliff was completely eliminated. A purple orb appeared flying toward Vivian. Little flashed a plan, making the wolves fall off the cliff was the way to win. He combined fire magic and claws to directly confront each wolf he pushed off the cliff. 1, 2, then 7, all were defeated. Vivian's chain shattered. She fell safely down. At that moment, Little hurried over and softened his voice to reassure her everything's okay now. He hoped they would be teleported out after defeating 7 wolves, but a strange sound echoed in front of them. A stone staircase leading downward appeared within the gate. Vivian trembled as she used magic to heal Little's wounds. She sobbed, choked with emotion. "Sorry you got into trouble because of me." Little shook his head firmly. "It's not your fault now we have a bigger problem." Looking at the stairs, he realized the challenge wasn't over and asked Vivian, "Do you know anything about the place called the Trial Kingdom?" She shook her head, feeling guilty. "I don't know the details. It's only for senior students." Both were clueless about this place. Little took her hand decisively. "Then we have to figure it out ourselves." "Yes," Peter promised Vivian, "I will protect you." But the girl shook her head, gathering magic around herself, her voice resolute. "I will fight alongside you." Peter was surprised by her spirit. Suddenly, a drop fell from somewhere, startling Vivian, who quickly hid behind him. Little laughed, not missing the chance to tease so cool, but why hide? Then the two began descending the stairs, the thick fog gradually lifting. Vivian suddenly heard the sound of crumbling stone. The stairs behind them collapsed. They rushed to escape, but it was futile as they were about to fall into the abyss. Little tried to summon Jira's skill, but Vivian was faster, activating her magical wings. She carried Little like a princess and flew to safety. Little breathed a sigh of amazement. Is she really that strong? The system broke the moment with a congratulatory notification for mission completion. Little leveled up but couldn't learn a new skill because Jira was still upset about the living environment issue. At the end of the stairs, they faced a path leading to a gate surrounded by the corpses of wolf phantoms. Little was cautious there must be a trap. He told Vivian to step back and threw a stone to test. The stone hit a statue on the gate, activating a magical beam shooting toward them. Both dodged in time, but Little was annoyed. "Why aim at us?" Not the stone. The statue cracked and shattered, transforming into a small white wolf. Little and Vivian admired. "So cute." It reminded him of Jira when she first hatched. But the wolf pup howled sonic waves, rippling that revived the wolf phantoms. But Little realized they had to take down the white wolf first. He used his claw skill to slash at the wolf phantoms. Vivian chanted a spell to support him, then attacked the white wolf, but it easily blocked her strikes, leaving Vivian desperate. It had damage immunity. Vivian suddenly sank into painful memories, recalling being saved from a level 8 demon beast immune to magic. All her teammates died. She was the only survivor. That brutal memory haunted her endlessly. But Little Eyes, determined, held her hand. "As long as I'm here, we will survive and win this trial. I swear I won't let you be in danger." The words reminded Vivienne of the hero who once protected her, waking her up. She was no longer a helpless child. She gripped the staff tightly, mustering all her courage to rush forward and smash a ghostly wolf's head hard onto the ground. Little and the wolves were stunned. She used physical attacks. That moment was enough for Little to come up with an idea. He shouted, "Vivian, hold the wolves for 30 seconds. I'll clear the way." Little threw a fireball that burned most of the ghost wolves. Both rushed toward this white wolf. Vivian ran to the gate while Little jumped up because he knew magic couldn't touch the white wolf. Little swung his fist just as the wolf activated its shield, but his punch was strong enough to shake the protective barrier. He kept throwing more punches, causing the magical circle to crack and break. Meanwhile, Vivian used her staff to fend off the ghost wolves, her movements decisive at the critical moment. Little yelled goodbye. He threw the last fireball that incinerated the white wolf. Immediately, he turns to check on Vivian. "Are you okay?" The ghost wolves vanished as soon as the white wolf was defeated. The system announced, "Congratulations. Little defeated the monster boss, earning the title Wolf King, the skill to summon 17 battle wolves, and a new magical fiery fist skill. Vivian ran over, worried this gate looks like the real exit check at first. She noticed many wounds on Little's body, her eyes reddening. "Sorry I caused you to get hurt like this." Little laughed teasingly at her, always apologizing. He took her hand gently. "These wounds don't mean anything." He smiled and pulled Vivian toward the gate. She smiled brightly, her heart warm. Both were transported back to the real world. The system announced congratulations on passing the challenge. Kingdom leader achieved A+ rank. Vivian ranked second. That was when Little realized his wounds had disappeared. Back home, Nicole read from the book. The challenge kingdom is an illusion with only 2 ways to escape past the challenge or die, but death only returns a player without harm. Little silently thanked himself for fighting, thinking dying isn't a good option. Rumors quickly spread throughout the academy about Little's achievements. The school council requested to retest his magical power. In front of the crowd, the results shocked everyone. Little's magical talent and connection to the fire element were at an average level. The students whispered impossible. Little, tired of the whispers, shouted loudly, "Stop spreading rumors about me." The room immediately fell silent, filled with awkward tension. Meanwhile, August, another student, decided to verify the rumors about Little himself. At the same time, Little felt a chill but brushed it off, focusing on negotiating with a merchant. He offered 50 bottles of magic potions, asking for 20,000 gold, a large sum. The merchant did not hesitate to pay more and asked, "Can you be a regular supplier? Your potions are the highest quality I've ever seen." Little smiled his heavy gold pouch, making him feel like things were looking up. Returning to the dragon farm, Little used the gold to improve a larger habitat for Jira. The fire dragon excitedly lunged into the lava, splashing a few droplets toward Little. Jira roared in a voice like laughter. "This is how it thanks you." The medium-level habitat granted experience points and gold and unlocked a new area, the dragon training ground. Little and Jira's eyes lit up, and both immediately snapped their fingers to teleport there. The leader expected a dangerous flying course, or a grand arena, but was disappointed upon opening his eyes. This area was simpler than imagined. The system explained the training ground will be larger and tougher as you level up. Complete all tasks to unlock the Dragon God Arena. First task, wave a stick 1,000 times like a cat toy. Though it sounded weird, the stick was surprisingly effective. Jira, the fearsome dragon, suddenly became a pet, chasing the stick with delight. But Little was bored with the dull task, accidentally dropped the stick, and complained to the system. Vera lowered her eyes sadly, thinking her owner didn't want to play with her. That image made Little feel sad, recalling the times he begged his father to play with him but was refused. He realized Jira was even lonelier because it was the only dragon on the farm while Little was busy studying at the academy. Then Little picked up the stick, determined not to give up. Both he and Jira enjoyed the training moment. The fire dragon eagerly chased the stick. By this time, Little was exhausted after more than 700 swings, but gritted his teeth and continued because this was the system's mission up to the 1,000th swing. A tremendous pressure suddenly hit him in an instant. Little felt the blazing gaze of a powerful dragon, freezing his body, unable to move. But then Jira lunged forward and snatched the stick from his hand. The system congratulated him on completing the pressure test. That just now turned out to be Jira's new skill. The dragon's imposing aura can paralyze lower-level creatures at a small chance. But because Little's level was high enough, he was also equipped with this skill. The expanded training ground excited him as he imagined unlocking the entire area, especially the Dragon God Arena. But now he had to say goodbye to Jira. Little rubbed the dragon's belly, but in return he got a powerful tail whip that sent him flying into the air. Back at the academy, Little attended Professor Reese's class as she promised. Some classmates, including the strange dog, began to like him. He hoped the semester would pass peacefully, but while helping the librarian clean, Little discovered a giant magic circle behind a curtain. He immediately recognized his father's mana. Curious, when he touched it, he suddenly disappeared and was teleported to the other side of the circle. What stood before Little was a horrifying sight. A dragon skeleton chained tightly in the room. He muttered, wondering why the academy had such a thing. The system immediately appeared and assigned a new mission. The system announced the completion of the water dragon egg's final wish. The main mission was to break the chains to help the dragon move. Little cast a fire spell, hoping to melt the chains, but the flames were ineffective. He stepped closer to examine the chain's material, but accidentally awakened the bone dragon. It struggled, its blazing eyes lunging to attack Little. He activated a shield, but the strike pierced through and almost took his life. Luckily, the dragon suddenly stopped. Its staring gaze made Little fearfully step back. He silently thanked the chains for saving him while cursing the system for not warning him. But while arguing with the system, Little heard the bone dragon's voice. Thanks to dragon language skills, it was calling out to its lost child in a desperate voice. Little tried to communicate, but no matter how many times he asked, the dragon ignored him and only repeated useless cries for help. Then he looked around the room for clues. An old magic book caught his eye. Opening it, he was stunned to see 3D images of Sir Oliver and his father. This was their laboratory, but the following pages were blank, reminding Little of the book Oliver once gave him. Surely that was also their research. He recalled his father believed dragons were not demons. He had fought against his own kind to free them. Sir Oliver also said that when Little reached sage level, he would help cleanse the family's reputation. But now he pushed that thought aside to focus on the bone dragon. Deciding to gather more information, Little stepped out of the magic circle. Then Little asked Vivian if she felt anything strange from this wall. Vivian shook her head and pointed out that he hadn't cleaned it properly. Disappointed, Little asked other students about the bone dragon, but no one knew any rumors about dragons in the academy. He went to see Professor Risa, but she was silent for a moment before saying what he asked was impossible. Dragons were too powerful. No one could bring them into the academy. She advised not to waste time on legends, to prepare mentally for the special exam. Then Risa explained that if he passed the exam, Little would be allowed to enter the Mage's Challenge Tower. A kingdom harsher than the Challenge Kingdom created by the sage mage Din Glassstone. Inside the tower, dangerous monsters lurk and going through alone is almost impossible. Each year, selected potential students have a chance to receive the honor medal from the king, allowing them to teach at the academy or study in the royal library. Risa emphasized that the royal library could help him learn about dragons. Little's eyes lit up, realizing this was Risa's hint about the bone dragon and the magic book. Eagerly, he asked about the exam. Risa smiled, saying he had to defeat her in a battle. Little paled. She was a rank 6 mage, while he was only rank 3. But Risa reassured him she would suppress her power to match his level. He had 1 month to prepare. She was looking forward to it. The system now showed the mission defeat Professor Risa without using magic. Returning to the dorm, Little pondered although Risa's knowledge surpassed his and her water attribute differed from his fire. But he didn't give up, determined to find a way to overcome it. Later, Little devoted time to researching how to counter water magic. At the same time, he learned advanced fire magic, and since self-training was ineffective, he asked Jira for help. Every day, the two trained tirelessly, helping Little become more agile in casting fire spells. Not only stronger, but the relationship between him and Jira also grew closer. After a month on match day, some students still doubted Little, but Vivian fiercely defended his image against whispers. The match began with the rule that whoever takes damage from magic, or is pushed out of the circle, loses. Little launched a barrage of fireballs while Professor Risa responded with water spheres. Despite suppressing her power, Risa created more spheres, overwhelming Little without letting him rest. She chanted the Silver Serpent Dance. Little countered with a ring of fire that evaporated her attack. Risa praised his understanding of attributes but immediately unleashed a 3rd-rank water magic tide. Little responded with Spring Flame, a 3rd-rank fire magic spell. The two skills clashed, but Spring Flame was pushed back. The audience was amazed that Little held out so long. Risa thought he was about to give up, but Little's eyes blazed as if everything was just starting. He deliberately led Risa's water upward, skillfully controlling both spells. Suddenly, countless fireballs appeared surrounding Risa. Little smiled, thanking her for giving him time to prepare. He launched Meteor Fire. Giant fireballs rained down like shooting stars. Risa smiled quietly, admiring that this magic was almost impossible to learn at rank 3. A huge explosion shook the battlefield. The crowd cheered, thinking Little had won, but when the smoke cleared, Risa was still standing strong, unscathed. She began chanting Night Bloom Illusion. The students, including Vivian, widened their eyes in amazement. One student whispered that only those who signed a pact with a spirit could use this spell. At that moment, Little doubted if she was really rank 3. Risa turned to warn him that if he waited, the entire arena would be engulfed. When the chant finished, a massive wave rushed forward. Little remembered the White Wolf immune to magic and realized Risa's spell was similar, her ace card. He charged at her, throwing a fiery punch. Then Risa lost guard, not expecting Little to react so quickly. He broke the barrier and immediately chanted Fire Serpent. Risa countered with a water whip. The flowing water swept Little, leaving him dazed and unable to react. The collision blew him out of the circle. Vivian and the dog students thought Little had lost, but Risa said, "I am the one who lost. He forced me to use higher-level magic, making me see him as a true opponent." She smiled, looking forward to his future, declaring Little the winner. Then Little passed the exam, completing the Water Dragon Egg mission. The next day, the king visited the academy to meet the students, including Little. He declared, "You are the pillars of the Empire's future," and showed the honor medal awarded to those who conquer the Mage trial tower. The students were excited and determined to win it. While lining up at the tower gate, some students still doubted Little's ability, but another who witnessed his fight with Risa spoke up to defend him. From behind, a female student from the student council observed Little with a scrutinizing gaze. She whispered that President Augustine had mentioned him before. Little recalled Augustine, the person who had made him curious about how to defeat him. Feeling increasing pressure, then the system suddenly displayed the old mission to defeat Augustine again. Little was startled. If not reminded, he would have forgotten. Just then, the judge called his name, urging him to step through the gate. Instantly, Little was teleported to the first floor of the Mage trial tower, a mysterious and cold world. Before entering, Professor Risa handed him a map. The tower has 9 floors. The first 3 have instant teleport points. No magical beasts guard them, a safe zone where students can only be eliminated by beasts or fellow tower challengers. Little quickly earned points by defeating magical beasts. He noticed their levels corresponded to the tower floors. Without realizing it, he reached the 3rd floor and used a teleport point to reach the 4th floor. "From here, I have to be more careful," he told himself. A shadow had been silently waiting for him there for a long time. Outside the tower, the king and Professor Risa observed through lanterns, showing students' positions. Most had reached the 4th floor. Risa explained the first 3 floors were the easiest, requiring only defeating magical beasts. Floors 4 to 6 were mission stages, needing objectives completed to advance. The last 3 floors faced grades 7 to 9 magical beasts. Risa silently wondered how far Little would go. On the 4th floor, the mission required defeating beasts worth 200 points each. 1,000 points were needed to advance, but defeating other students deducted 1,000 points with 100 students and 1,000 beasts in total. Little realized he had to be quick. The number of beasts was limited. He rushed to kill monsters but lost vigilance due to haste. At that moment, a mysterious man threw a magic flask at Little. His eyes flashed with murderous intent. A fireball shot out, shattering the flask and releasing mist around Little, confusing him. The system had said students only lost points if they defeated each other, but he didn't have time to think and fled from the attacker who had succeeded in his plan 10 minutes earlier. This guy was in Augustine's group but was annoyed because the student council president always paid attention to Little. He craved Augustine's recognition and even challenged the president to show he was a rank 4 mage. Augustine refused, saying he was too weak, which angered him. He bet that if he scored more points than Little, he would get a one-on-one duel with Augustine. So he swore not to let Little earn any points. Meanwhile, Little hurriedly hunted magical beasts on the 4th floor, but every beast he found was snatched by other students. After more than 10 times like that, the system announced only 89 beasts remained. Little overheard a group of students boasting after killing a beast that they had followed him to steal targets. Suspicious, he grabbed one named Erland and pressed him about what was going on. The students sneered and threatened but dared not attack for fear of losing points. Peter read their intentions, scaring them, but Erland alone. Little growled, "I have nothing left to lose, speak or die." Erland panicked, confessing that a red-haired guy named Siren had drunk, controlling them with a magical arrow on Little's head, a mark from the earlier flask. "I'm afraid of Siren, so I obeyed him." The system announced only 36 beasts remained. Desperate, Little cast spring fire at the arrow, but it wouldn't disappear. Erland stammered, "That thing can't erase Siren." The red-haired guy laughed triumphantly, knowing Little's time was running out, but suddenly startled as more location marks on Little appeared, then more. Little sneered, "Want to mark me easy." He imitated him, creating a series of fake marks, causing Siren to panic and despair. The guy rushed off to hunt beasts, determined to block Little. Most students had completed the task, but Little persistently fought on to reach 600 points. Just need to defeat 2 more spirit beasts to reach 1,000. Suddenly, the system announced only 1 spirit beast remained. Little was stunned and angry. Even if he defeated it, the points still wouldn't be enough. But a bonus mission appeared. The last spirit beast had a random score of 99. Hope ignited. Little rushed off to find the beast. Other students, also eager to level up, began the hunt at the student association. A girl reported to Augustine that Siren had gone too far and used a mark charm on Little. Augustine coldly said, "Whoever survives the tower needs no justification. If Little doesn't pass level 4, he's not worthy." With 15 minutes left, Little activated the Werewolf King title, summoning a pack of ghost wolves to assist in the search. The wolves scattered, confusing the other students who didn't understand where they came from. One wolf howled. Little immediately knew he had found it. He activated the instant teleportation formation, rushing to the last spirit beast's location. Then Little teleported near a volcano, but a chilling feeling made him turn back. Siren, the red-haired guy, stood there with a sinister smile. Little pressed. "Have you killed the last spirit beast yet?" Siren shrugged. "Not yet. I just happened to be here when your wolves howled. The last spirit beast is inside the volcano's mouth." Other students gathered nearby but were too scared to take the risk. Siren taunted, "Give up. Little only has 2 minutes, so jump straight into the volcano." He knew dying in the challenge tower didn't affect real life, but falling deep with the intense heat made him shudder. "Without the power of the fire dragon, my lungs would have burned already." Suddenly, a blow from behind trapped him in a steel-strong spider web. He struggled, but it was useless. The spirit beast appeared, a giant spider. Little shuddered, thinking he might become its meal forever. He cast a fireball, but the web was unharmed. The spider lunged and bit his leg. Little screamed in pain. The system displayed info level 4 fire spider phantom web is flammable. At that moment, Little cursed. "Why tell me now?" The spider attacked again, targeting his arm, putting him in danger. Gritting his teeth, Little tried to finish the strongest spell, Meteor Fire. Countless fireballs rained down like shooting stars. The spider sensed the threat and retreated into its sturdy shell, ready to withstand. Meanwhile, Little struggled against the web, but failed. Only 1 minute left. He realized the spider only hit its head in the shell. Thinking quickly, Little decided to use the fire snake aimed at its head. He began chanting the spell, but the volcano shook, about to erupt. The spider shot silk to cover Little's mouth, preventing him from finishing the spell. The system revealed the fire spider phantom prefers to melt prey with lava before eating. Little despairingly said, "If the volcano hadn't erupted, I would have won." Lava surged from afar. Siren and Augustine watched. The red-haired guy sneered. "Now let's fight hand-to-hand on level 5. Augustine coldly, "Time isn't up yet, wait." Suddenly, a fiery fist pierced through the lava and struck the spider's head. Little survived by activating the lava shield, a secret skill that made him immune to lava like Jira. Standing ready to fight, only 4 seconds left. Little unleashed the fire snake at the spider to prevent it from escaping. When the countdown ended, Siren boasted, "Little's definitely dead now." Augustine was silent, his eyes filled with disappointment. But a student shouted, pointing at the sky. Little's marked arrow appeared, flying toward them. Siren sneered. Although he survived, he still failed the test. Suddenly, Little landed right behind him, voice cold. "You're wrong." Under the shimmering light of the golden orb, the crowd held their breath, watching Little's every move. "This orb will add points to him," a voice echoed, leaving Sa Jen's stunned eyes wide in amazement. The surrounding students, initially surprised, gradually got drawn into the orb's brilliance, whispering before Little opened it. He turned his head and said in a deep, clear voice, "Does anyone have extra clothes I can borrow?" Before he could finish speaking, the pink-haired girl quickly stepped forward and handed him an outfit. At that moment, Little nodded slightly with sincere thanks. "Thank you." The pink-haired girl's hair shimmered under the light as she smiled, her eyes full of meaning. "I've noticed you since we entered this tower." She spoke softly but confidently. "There's a rumor that Little's power rivals the tower's master. I'm Daya. Would you like to team up with me?" Little paused briefly, a strange feeling creeping into his heart. Daya's radiant yet mysterious smile reminded him of Vi's smile from years ago. Before he could answer, a figure rushed in, cutting off his thoughts. It was Aln, the enthusiastic guy he had met earlier. Aln shouted, "Little, I want to team up with you too." Aln lunged at Little as if to hug him tightly. Little grimaced, trying to push him away, but Aln clung on, pleading, "Please forgive me." Suddenly, a cold voice cut through the chaotic atmosphere. Sajen appeared with a sneering smile. "That score orb won't be enough for you to pass this floor. Little, you need at least 400 points to meet the requirement." Tension filled the air as Little's hands trembled slightly while placing the orb on the stone pedestal, silently praying. All eyes focused on him as the orb slowly emitted a flash of light, revealing the number 399 points. Little froze as if his life force had been drained. Behind, Sajen laughter echoed triumphantly, sharp as a blade. The challenge on the 4th floor officially ended, leaving Little engulfed in disappointment. Sajen wasn't done yet. He stepped forward with a mocking tone, just 1 point short. "Little, that's really unfortunate." Daya couldn't stand it any longer and stepped up to block Little, her eyes blazing. "That's enough." Sajen fell silent, but Little, his voice low and sorrowful, raised his hand to stop her. "It's okay, Senior. I did my best." He turned away, trying to hide his pain, telling himself he had done everything he could. Not long after, on the 5th floor of the Mage's challenge tower, the students were teleported to the next stage. Surprisingly, Linter was still there, not eliminated. The crowd buzzed, most nodding in approval of his incredible performance. But Sa-Gen's face darkened as he rushed to grab Linter's collar. "Cheater, you definitely cheated on the 4th floor," he shouted, eyes blazing as he stared at Linter's confused expression. "Come on. There's no way you had the strength to defeat the final monster. I understand your power better than you do." Dia stepped forward without hesitation, her voice sharp as a blade. "Sa-Gen, stop spouting nonsense right now." Dia gave Sa-Gen a cold glare, her voice steely. "Sa-Gen, you should read the rules carefully before accusing Linter." She pointed to the announcement board where the 5th floor rules were clearly displayed. A one-on-one match between teams will decide everything. The winning team takes all the opponent's points, meaning at least half the contestants will be eliminated. To participate, each student must have a challenge card that can only be earned by defeating magical beasts. But each beast defeated deducts 200 points from their total points on the 4th floor. If their score hits 0 without a card, they'll be eliminated immediately. More importantly, the number of contestants on this floor must be even because everyone must find an opponent for the one-on-one match. Linter, with the highest score under 1,000, was unexpectedly chosen by the tower to continue. This news enraged Sa-Gen, his face twisted with anger. "Impossible," he roared, but Linter ignored him and officially formed a team with Dia. Although Aln was pushed away by Linter, he still knelt down, begging, "Please let me join." Finally, Linter nodded, but with a stern look. "Aln, you have to prove you can contribute more to the team." Suddenly, a wave of anger overwhelmed them both as Linter and Dia simultaneously sensed a mysterious presence lurking behind. They turned quickly, but saw only silent darkness. Dia whispered urgently, "We should leave immediately, Linter. Other teams will soon gain the advantage if they defeat the last magical beasts." Linter nodded, but turned to Aln with a firm tone. "If you want to stay, you have to work twice as hard." But as Linter's team moved, a mysterious monster hidden in the shadows silently followed its eyes flickering as it waited for the right moment. Meanwhile, at the palace, the king received a report on the students conquering the 5th floor. He was surprised, his eyebrows raised. "This year is completely different," he muttered with a satisfied smile. "Prepare more rewards." But in another corner, Professor Deja frowned, full of doubt. No one has been eliminated yet, she told herself, her eyes scanning the tower wall. Something's not right. Back with Linter's group, they were diligently hunting magical beasts to find challenge cards. The combined personal score of the three was only 2,999 points, meaning 14 chances to defeat beasts. But each beast had a rank, and only stronger ones could drop higher-level cards. Unfortunately, so far, they had come up empty-handed. With their current score, they had only one last chance left, hope slowly fading. Linter clenched his fist, his mind spinning for a way to overcome this. Suddenly, a branch from behind shot out like lightning, wrapping around his leg and pulling hard. Vines tightened around the whole group. Linter was caught in their sharp green blades. Focused on fighting a 5th-rank beast, Linter didn't notice this 3rd-rank monster. Both Dia and Alen were also distracted because they knew 3rd-rank beasts couldn't drop challenge cards. Now the last chance to defeat another beast rested in Linter's hands. He clenched his fist, his eyes flashing with determination. "I'll handle this," he muttered to himself, thinking about sacrificing his position to protect teammates Dia and Aln, who always stood up for him against Sa-Gen's harsh accusations. This sacrifice was worth it. Without hesitation, Linter raised his hand and cast a fire spell. Flames flared fiercely. Dia and Alen stood stunned, mouths agape at the unexpected move. "Linter, are you going to sacrifice yourself?" Dia exclaimed with a trembling voice. The flames rushed straight into the vines, but suddenly Aln unleashed a strong stream of water to stop it. Alan's face was bright red with anger as he shouted, "Linter, don't do that. I don't want you to sacrifice yourself for us." In that moment, all three were willing to risk themselves to save the others, but Linter acted first. Aln, with teary eyes, turned to Linter, voice choked. "It's all my fault. On the 4th floor, I caused you to fail. Now you want to sacrifice yourself for me?" Without waiting for an answer, Aln waved his hand, water magic flowing out to free Linter and Dia from the vines. Suddenly, a magical potion bottle flashed and flew over. Dia, with determined eyes, shouted, "Alan, you don't have to do that. I will sacrifice my position for both of you." Linter was silent, deeply feeling the friendship both had for him, but the vines suddenly tightened even more, choking fiercely. All three were startled to realize this was not a 3rd-rank beast. Dia's fire potion was useless against it. It was a tangled plant. Linter shouted in tension, This carnivorous monster disguises itself as a low-rank beast, instinctively fights back when attacked, and the more magic is used to escape, the tighter the vines get. The only way to defeat it is to dig up and destroy its roots. Daya murmured desperately, "We can't even get free from the vines." Suddenly a crack sounded. Somehow Linter broke free from the vines, standing firm with burning eyes. "I will dig up this monster's roots." Daya and Alan's eyes widened in amazement. Linter's body had become as solid as forged steel from their encounter at the volcano, helping him break the vines. "How did you do that?" Alan stammered, while Daya laughed with sparkling admiration. Linter blushed at this praise, quickly starting to dig up the roots. His movements were swift, like the wind. Meanwhile, in another corner of the 5th floor, Sa-Jen was still clinging on to kill. Auga style, his voice full of provocation. "Why do you keep targeting Linter, Auga?" Other group members began to frown, annoyed. A blonde girl's cold voice cut in. "This match is impossible. If the chairman defeats Sagan, he will lose 1,000 points and be eliminated." But Auga was unfazed, stepping closer to Sagan and holding up a challenge card. "This is my target," Auga said, cold eyes fixed on Linter. The blonde girl quickly blocked Auga, worried. "Sagan is messing with Linter again." But their leader's deep, thunderous voice declared, "Sagan, you will never defeat Linter." Linter's whole group, filled with determination, continued their journey through the 5th floor, leaving Sagan isolated behind. His face twisted in anger, unable to accept the leader recognizing Linter's talent over his own. "I will prove I'm stronger." Sagan roared, magical wings spreading wide as he soared into the sky, eyes locked on Linter. Back with the Linter group, he was digging furiously at the tangled tree roots as hard as steel, bruising his strong hands from the last encounter at the volcano. Although Linter's body had become unusually strong, every strike still sent sharp pain through him. Daya and Alan were tightly bound by vines, helplessly watching Linter's heavy work. He gritted his teeth, afraid to use magic because it would make the vines tighten even more. Suddenly, Alan shouted urgently, "Linter, something is moving behind you!" Linter spun around, eyes blazing with fire, suddenly realizing that damn root could move on its own. But enraged Linter charged, throwing hammer-like punches, yet the root dodged like a ghost. At that moment, a dazzling armor enveloped Linter, blending with sparkling magical water. Though Daya and Alan were tightly bound by vines, they gathered all their strength to support him. But the price was the vines squeezing harder, choking them every second. Linter roared, his determination blazing. He had to be faster as he chased the root, each step thundering. Finally, Alan's water magic hit its mark, exposing the demonic root. Without hesitation, Linter swung his arm, summoning a fiery blade. The blazing sword sliced the root in half in the blink of an eye. A voice echoed from the tower. "Congratulations, your group has received a challenge card." Linter cheered, picking up the shimmering card from the monster's corpse. But the joy doubled when he discovered not one, but 3 challenge cards. "We have 3 cards," Linter announced, making Daya and Alan erupt in joy. The tower declared this achievement was thanks to the united efforts of all 3. Daya was honored as the protector for his extensive knowledge of tangled plants. Alan received the title of Observer for his ability to detect roots, while Linter, with his spectacular finishing move, was called the Breaker. All 3, due to their outstanding performance, earned the right to challenge in the next round. Hidaya and Alan's eyes sparkled as they all thanked Linter for fighting with all his heart. The group quickly rested, treated their wounds, and prepared mentally for the upcoming battle. Under the dim light of the 5th floor, Linter bowed his head heavy-hearted, knowing his opponent was Alga Style, a strong and unpredictable foe. Dai-Ah-Ass, vice president of the student council, would face the blonde girl Grana, while Aun had to confront Saigon, the terrifying redhead. At first, Aun was excited, but quickly turned pale when he recognized his opponent, Saigon. He muttered, the image of the redhead flashing like a nightmarish panic. Aun clung tightly to Linter, voice trembling. "Linter, please help me survive that redhead." Suddenly, a brilliant burst of magic rushed in, and Linter reflexively raised his shield to guard his teammate. He shouted, feeling the terrible power of the attack, but Linter's shield shattered, and he took the hit, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. The whole group turned to face Sagan's distorted face, his eyes flashing with malice. He sneered mockingly. "How can Linter fight Alga Style when he couldn't even block my strike?" Dai-Ah and Alan's anger flared as they shouted in unison. "That was a sneak attack, Saigon." Aln stepped forward firmly. "Your opponent is me. If you attack Linter, you'll be disqualified." Sagan smirked coldly. "I'm not attacking Linter. I'm aiming at you, Aln." But the magic went astray. The tower won't disqualify me as long as the target isn't another student. Before Linter's group could react, Saigen swung his hand, launching another magic attack at Aln. Clearly, the redhead targeted the whole group, but Aln bravely stepped forward, ready to take the hit to protect Linter. Just then, a terrifying explosion rang out, smoke and dust, thick blood dripping, but not from Aln. Linter had rushed up, combining with Dai-Ah's magic shield to form a solid wall blocking Saigen's attack. Linter's eyes blazed as he pulled Aln to his feet. "Get up, Aln. I'm sick of your self-doubt. All three of us are definitely stronger than Saigen." Aln nodded with tears, sparkling emotions overflowing. But Saigen still arrogantly laughed loudly. "Stronger than me, Linter Dai-Ah, neither of you dares to touch me." He waved his hand, summoning multiple clones of himself, each flickering with terrifying magic. Dai-Ah didn't hesitate, activating his wind skill, creating a swirling air current to boost Linter's speed. Linter charged into the clones to protect Aln while shouting, "Aln, you're the observer. Find Saigen's real form now." Aln snapped awake, focusing his chant, his eyes flashing as he detected a faint glow from the real Saigen hiding among the clones. "Linter, he's over there." "Over." Aln pointed firmly. Saigen didn't hesitate, and charged straight at the real Saigen, his eyes blazing with determination to defeat his enemy. Saigen smirked arrogantly, knowing that Saigen wouldn't dare to attack head-on. Just as predicted, Saigen didn't swing at him. Instead, Linter suddenly lunged forward and grabbed Saigen tightly. He took advantage of Saigen's own words, "The tower won't eliminate anyone if the target isn't another student." With a flash in his eyes, Linter shouted, "I will attack myself." Pulling Saigen along, he dashed off the cliff, summoning fire magic to increase their falling speed. The two plunged down like shooting stars, creating a huge crater on the ground. As the dust cleared, Linter staggered to his feet with only a large bump on his head. Dai-Ah and Aln hurried over, worriedly asking, "Linter, are you okay?" But immediately both scolded him. "Why do you always do reckless things like that?" Old Dao stood up, his expression changing, looking at Linter with a deep voice. "Now I understand why Alga Style said he couldn't defeat you. It's because of your determination." Linter, unfazed, replied sharply, "If you think you're stronger than me, Saigen, why don't you dare face me directly? You are a rank 4 mage with far more experience than me, but what you lack is confidence. You're afraid to lose to someone like me." His words cut deep into Saigen's pride. He felt silent memories of cowardly tricks against Linter flooding back. "I'm a coward," Saigen muttered, his eyes dimming as he realized the truth. He turned and yelled at Aln, "End me now!" While Aln chanted, Saigen looked at Linter with a hoarse voice. "After this trial, can I really have a one-on-one fight with you?" Linter smiled and nodded. "I accept." Aln's spell finished preparing as he bent down to Saigen, but a flash of light from an arrow interrupted the attack. Vice President of the Student Council. Grana stepped forward with a stern voice. "The President orders a ceasefire. Everyone gather at the Teleportation Formation Center." Linter's group was bewildered, not understanding why the battles suddenly stopped. Grana's serious eyes explained, "The tower has lost control. Students killed by monsters are not allowed to be taken out, even those who passed the one-on-one fights." Linter hurried to check the control panel and realized everything was in chaos. Grana turned to Saigen with a firm voice. "Get up and heal your wounds immediately. We have a lot to do." At the center of the instant teleportation area, giant tentacles writhed, shattering the silent space. Linter and his group arrived just in time to witness a terrified student rushing over, trembling. "President Alga Style thinks the control panel inside the tower lost control, trapping this monster here and damaging the teleportation magic." "I'm Grana, standing beside to report to Alga Style," she said clearly. She paused, her face darkening. "But 22 people have died. 6 are injured and 3 students are missing." The news made Dai-A and Aln pale, fear deeply etched in their eyes. At that moment, Alga Style looked at Linter with a deep but cold voice. "Compared to those who died, Linter, you are truly lucky." His words and tone made Linter clench his fists, anger rising inside him. He felt Alga was implying that he should have been among the victims. Alga didn't deny it, just smirked. "Someone who has always been lucky since entering the academy. I hope your luck will help us get through this time." But the monster gave them no time to argue. A giant tentacle bent down, revealing its true form, a colossal octopus with a body glinting metallic. The tentacle slammed toward the student council group, causing several students to scream in panic and scatter. On the other side, Alga-style raised his hand to summon lightning magic. A lightning bolt tore through the sky, striking the monster directly. Linter didn't hesitate and unleashed fire magic. The brilliant flames burst forth. Even Alm, the shy guy, gritted his teeth and chanted. Magic light flashed from his hands. Their actions ignited a fire in the hearts of other students who had fled before, but now turned back, their eyes sparkling with courage, ready to fight. But Linter and August soon realized their attacks were just scratching the monster's itch. While engrossed in battle, the two accidentally collided. Their uncoordinated movements made them stagger. A giant tentacle took the opportunity to bend down, threatening to crush them both. Suddenly, a series of magic attacks shot up from the ground, stopping the tentacle. Inspired students returned united to fight alongside Alga-style. Linter looked over, unable to hide his admiration for Alga's leadership skills. Dai-Ah stood next to Thi-Tum with Aln. Alga may be arrogant, but he is always the first to defend the academy. Aln nodded, his eyes resolute. Alga-style's voice thundered as he commanded the student council, "We will lead and protect everyone. Keep all students safe." Under the dim light of the tower floor, none of the students were cowards anymore. Each of them had blazing eyes ready to stand by Alga-style's side. With the sharpness of a leader, he recognized Linter's influence. It wasn't just him inspiring others. Linter's indomitable spirit also sparked courage in everyone. The three Alga-stylers raised their voices thunderously. "Everyone alive, prepare for battle! Unleash your strongest skills." The roles were clearly assigned. Grana's group was responsible for analyzing the monster's movements. Sagan led the vanguard formation, while Linter's team launched the most powerful magical attacks. When Alga-style shouted, the campaign began. A giant magic circle appeared beneath the monster's feet. Magical chains from the Sky Team rose up, binding the giant octopus tightly. The Fire Mage group, led by Linter, completed the spell. The blazing fire merged with wind magic from another group, forming a sharp missile that shot straight into the monster. At Alga-style's signal, the wound on the octopus's body made the whole group cheer. Hope flickered, but the joy was short-lived. The monster roared and unleashed a devastating sonic wave spell that shattered the chains. The power of the sonic wave was so fierce that Sagan staggered. Linter coughed up blood, and most students fell wounded. Alga-style clenched his fists, blaming himself, but quickly regained his composure and ordered a counterattack. While everyone prepared a new strike, Linter silently thought through his pain. A memory flashed a skill he learned from the fire dragon during training. Without hesitation, Linter activated the dragon's aura. A skill that could lock the enemy's movement, but the level gap made his body heavy and almost useless. Suddenly, a blinding light flared up in front of him. The fire dragon's soul path escaped from Linter's body, now bigger and more powerful than ever. The fire dragon roared with overwhelming momentum, paralyzing the octopus. Its sonic wave stopped completely. Alga-style seized the chance and shouted attack with a barrage of magical strikes from the students. The assault tore the monster's body apart. The octopus collapsed. Silence filled the space. The students who had fainted began to wake up, breathing a sigh of relief. But Alga-style frowned, his eyes full of doubt. Why did the monster suddenly freeze for a moment? While the group cautiously approached to check the monster's body, Linter lay on the ground, his body trembling. He breathed weakly and turned to ask the fire dragon's soul path, "Why did you escape from me?" The soul path system replied evenly, "That is the dragon's aura skill." When the master trained in the fire dragon area, all skills the soul path learned were externalized through the master's body, but with your current physique, you can only use it once a day. The soul path glared at Linter. "You were the one who requested to use that skill. Now you blame me." Linter snapped at the system. "Why didn't you warn me about this skill?" The soul path didn't back down. "You only dragged me to the training ground to learn skills. You never actually played with me." Suddenly, Aln shouted, calling Alga-style chairman. "I noticed many moments when the monster was motionless. I discovered it's a nightmare giant monster rank 6 with dark attributes." Rana frowned, suspicious. "That can't be. That species can't be that huge." Aln shook his head, confused. "I'm not sure either, but my magic circle indicated so. It also has the ability to pull people into illusions." The three Alga-stylers nodded, eyes thoughtful. "That's right. Even though we coordinated attacks only, Grana's light and my thunder magic were effective. You could say I'm the second light mage." But the atmosphere suddenly turned heavy. A magical sword unexpectedly pierced through Alga-style's chest. The one who struck with the sinister smile was Sagan, but he did not betray. His empty eyes showed he was being controlled. He was mind-controlled. When Rana shouted and unleashed the binding light that tightly wrapped Saigon, she turned to Aln to check what was happening. But Aln's dazed eyes showed he was also enchanted. The other students behind them were the same, attacking their teammates in madness. Rana panicked, realizing Aln's words about the nightmarish giant were true. Linter hurriedly asked Dai-Ah, "Do you have any magic potion to restore consciousness or something similar?" Dai-Ah shook her head in despair. "I'm sorry. I have no way to help them in time." The beast, thought dead, suddenly came alive, emitting a black aura that agitated those who were enchanted. Without hesitation, they charged at the beast. Linter quickly jumped forward and held him back tightly. Looking up, he was horrified to see all the students advancing toward the beast, despite Grana's screams beside him. Alga-Style collapsed. Blood poured endlessly from his wound. The three Alga-Styles, though still bleeding from their wounds, struggled to stand up, their eyes burning with determination to save the students, but it was too late. Small tentacles from the beast clung tightly to the students' heads, draining their life force. Alga-Style couldn't bear it, rushing to summon fierce lightning magic. "Give me back the students!" he roared angrily. "They are the best apprentice mages of the Iris Academy." Those words stunned Grana and Linter, admiring his resolve. But the beast was not easy to deal with. A small tentacle slid forward, clinging to Alga-Style's head and draining his life. Alga resisted, roaring in pain. The student council members immediately responded simultaneously, firing magic at the tentacle. The beast retaliated with a terrible burst of magic, putting the group in a critical situation. Linter's fury ignited as he shouted to the system, "Can I use the dragon's presence again?" The system warned sternly, "Master, abusing this skill is very dangerous." It was harmless at first, but each use triggers a stronger, violent reaction. It could cause your body to explode. Linter ignored the risk, gritting his teeth to activate Dragonfire skill. The Didao flared up and escaped from his body. He charged toward Auguste, but the skill's pressure made Linter dizzy. The dragon's presence was destroyed. Not giving up, Linter summoned Dragon Claws, a brilliant light flashing, but Rana shouted to stop him. Only light magic works against it. But she was stunned when Linter cut a tentacle cleanly with a sharp slash, freeing Alga-Style. Linter realized that not only the dragon's presence, but all Dragonfire skills could damage the nightmarish giant. However, the dragon's presence remained the only way to break its defense. But his body trembled from exhaustion, unsure if he could endure it again. The beast roared in pain from its severed tentacle, furiously swinging a giant tentacle aimed at Linter, too large to dodge. Linter thought he was done when a voice rang out. "Linter, you've always been a lucky guy." Alga-Style appeared out of nowhere, summoning Heavenly Demon Magic Array to block the attack for me. Linter intended to heal Alga, but Grana stopped him. She commanded firmly, "Silence, Linter. I am Alga-Style's direct subordinate. He ordered me to heal you first." It was Alga-Style, still bleeding from his wound, who looked back at Linter with a hoarse but determined voice. "I don't know why, but your attack, Linter, is the only thing truly effective against this nightmare. You are our luck." He paused, his gaze cold. "I don't expect much from you, but just a glimmer of hope. Bring that hope to the other students as you have saved me." Suddenly, two small tentacles lunged toward Alga-Style and Grana. Without hesitation, they leapt forward to shield Linter, taking the full attack. The sudden action stunned Linter, his body frozen mid-strike. The second bent down, but Dai-Ah had just completed a wind spell, unleashing a strong, swirling air current to save Linter from death's scythe. But the price was that she was hit by another tentacle, falling down in pain. When Linter recovered, the scene before him chilled him. The nightmare was still slaughtering the remaining students. He sank into his thoughts, his heart aching. He had to save them. But how? The thought of calling Dai-Dao flashed in his mind, but he immediately hesitated. The Linter family had once been expelled from the Empire because his father released a dragon. If anyone found out he was associating with the fire dragon, his family's efforts to clear their name would be in vain. Linter had set a rule to only use Dai-Dao as a last resort, but now, facing life and death, he had no choice, even if it risked exposure. "I have to save everyone." Linter gritted his teeth and shouted loudly, "Fire Dragon Dai-Dao!" Dai-Dao flared with brilliant light, tearing through the darkness. It roared, eyes blazing with fury. "Who dares to bully my master?" Linter ordered firmly, "Dai-Dao, lure the nightmare away from here. Protect everyone!" The fire dragon dashed off, drawing the monster's attention and clearing a path for the students. Meanwhile, outside the challenge tower, the king paced anxiously, his face darkening. "It's been too long with no students coming out of the tower. What's wrong?" he roared. A trembling professor stepped forward to report, "Your Majesty, the teleportation rings inside the tower have stopped working. Whether going out or moving in, all systems are malfunctioning. A dangerous situation has definitely occurred." The king's anger flared as he shouted, "Where's the solution? What are you doing to fix this?" 6 Wen professors knelt before the king, trembling as they reported, "We are trying to intervene with the tower and have called the director but have yet to receive a response. Currently, we have no solution." Their words enraged the king, his eyes blazing fire. "The Iris Divine Academy, home to the Empire's top mages, lets its students fall into danger while you only wait." Just then, Professor Disha stepped forward with a stern voice calling for the director again, then turned to the king and bowed. "Your Majesty, please allow us to withdraw. One of my colleagues just sensed the breath of the fire dragon inside the tower." The king paled. "A dragon? Humans sealed them in the Eastern Valley. How could they appear inside the academy on the 5th floor of the Challenge Tower?" Linter believed they had lured the nightmare far away, leaving open space for the final battle, but suddenly Dao the fire dragon roared, "Master, there are many humans below!" Linter was stunned to recognize familiar faces among the corpses, a blonde guy who had protected him from Grana when entering the tower. 2 others who had blocked him on the 4th floor under Seijen's orders, but had knelt to apologize because they were forced. Pain and anger surged. Linter shouted, "Dao, stop! This is where we end the nightmare." At this moment, Linter commanded coldly, "Dao, use the dragon's might." The fire dragon roared with overwhelming force, paralyzing the nightmare instantly. Linter turned to Grana. "Attack the left flank, we'll handle the right." Both charged in, severing each tentacle of the monster. Its agonized screams echoed. But its rage caused the nightmare to concentrate dark magic, forming a terrifying energy blast. The system suddenly warned the master to evacuate urgently. "The nightmare is using dragon's breath." Linter was stunned and confused. Dragon's breath? How could a nightmare demon use that skill? Dao the fire dragon roared angrily, eyes blazing. "No wonder something felt off. The dark magic on this nightmare is exactly like mine." It turned to Linter, voice full of outrage. "Rana said nightmares are small and scaleless, but this monster has dragon scales. What did it do to my kind to gain this power?" Dao didn't give them time to react. The nightmare unleashed a dark dragon's breath. A black magic blast surged forward. Linter ordered to dodge, but Dao's dragon pride was offended, roaring, "I'll show it who the real dragon is." It unleashed a fiery breath to counter the blazing flame, colliding with the darkness and causing a terrible explosion. Linter felt briefly relieved that Dao blocked the strike, but then was stunned as the nightmare intensified its overwhelming magic. As the dust cleared, Linter was unharmed, but Dao took the full damage and groaned in pain. The fire dragon breathed heavily, realizing the truth. "This nightmare is neither dragon nor beast. It has stolen the Long clan's magic." In pain and helplessness, Dao bowed its head. Linter spoke firmly but calmly to encourage, "Dao, you don't need to compete with fakes. From now on, obey me." Although annoyed that the Long clan's honor was insulted, Dao reluctantly nodded. The nightmare launched its second attack, the dark breath rushing forward again. This time, Dao obeyed Linter's advice, soaring up to dodge, taking advantage of the opportunity. Both closely followed the magical stream to approach the monster. Dao activated his dragon claws, the light flashing like blades. The nightmare counterattacked with another magic strike, but Dao had anticipated it and dodged. The fire dragon dived down, punching a large hole in the monster's head, causing it to roar in pain. But the nightmare was not easily subdued. It launched countless magic arrows that looked like small tentacles wrapping tightly around Dao. Drawing power from the dragon, Linter was horrified to realize they were turning Dao into a mummy. While Linter swung his dragon claws, cutting the magic arrows, binding Dao, a series of other arrows suddenly pierced his back. Dao panicked and growled at his master, but Linter, bleeding from his wounds, did not respond. The fear of losing his master made the fire dragon unable to contain his rage. He roared curses at the nightmare, his eyes blazing. A giant magical orb formed, radiating blinding light, the breath of the dragon. Dao roared loudly, unleashing a new skill born from despair. A terrifying flame surged down instantly, incinerating the nightmare, but Dao's anger was not yet quenched. He continued to roar, launching a series of attacks that shattered the monster's black scales, falling like a meteor shower. Linter watched silently despite the pain. The system announced Fire Dragon Dai Dao has defeated Nightmare Giant Beast Rank 6, gaining 1,500 experience points. Di Dao leveled up to 4. The system listed Dai Dao's skills: Stone Bite, Dragon's Breath, Dragon's Strength, Intermediate Fire Magic Immunity, Intermediate Physical Immunity, Fiery Shield. His experience points reset to number 1. After roaring, Di Dao turned around and saw Linter was still alive. He immediately boasted proudly, "My master is truly amazing." Linter weakly smiled and comforted, "You are number 1, Di Dao." He looked at the dragon and realized that despite the changes in appearance and power, he was still the little boy in his heart. The system interjected in a steady voice. Linter contributed a small part to the defeat of the nightmare. He received 5 experience points, enough to level up to level 4 Mage. But Linter was exhausted and just wanted to lie down and rest. Suddenly, a cold voice announced from the tower, "An anomaly has been detected in the challenge tower. All students will be teleported outside in 1 minute." Linter breathed a sigh of relief, eyes turning towards his barely conscious teammate. Suddenly, a pitiful scream startled him and Di Dao. Linter thought the nightmare was still alive. But when searching with Di Dao, they found a small, weak dragon tightly wrapped by magical tentacles drained of life. The dragon cried in pain, leaving Linter and Di Dao stunned. Linter's cold gaze recognized the nightmare draining energy from the young dragon to restore itself. The weak whimper of the young dragon reminded him of the sound the nightmare made before unleashing the dragon's breath. The magical waves emitted were similar, making Linter suspicious. Di Dao trembled with anger, roaring, "How dare these lowly monsters treat the dragon clan like this!" He charged forward, dragon claws slicing cleanly to free the young dragon. Flames burst from Di Dao's mouth, burning the nightmare shards around him. Linter pondered, muttering, "This nightmare isn't the real culprit." Memories of the dragon laboratory flooded back. He recalled what the bone spirit once said, wondering if this little white dragon was its child. If so, the nightmare was a product of that laboratory. The next question weighed heavily on him. Did his father and Oliver truly show such cruelty to the son of a dragon? Suddenly, pain and exhaustion overwhelmed him. System notification: 1 minute has passed. Linter was about to be forcibly teleported out of the tower. With his last bit of strength, he ordered Di Dao, "Take the young dragon back to the farm first. I will bring the recovery medicine and investigate the lab afterward." Outside the tower, the professors erupted in cheers as the teleport gate was restored. They hurried to check on the students. The medical team was ready to respond, but as they approached, their faces went pale. Before them were numerous severely injured students. Many had already died. Linter, despite being covered in wounds, was still standing. A professor ran over anxiously. "Linter, what happened?" His eyes blurred, but his voice remained firm. "Save the other students first." After speaking, Linter collapsed. That day, the king, burning with rage, ordered a thorough investigation into the massacre. The professors, equally outraged, vowed to find the mastermind behind it. The king summoned the best alchemists and auxiliary mages from the palace to treat the survivors. Alngrana and the survivors were cared for, but the students who had turned into mummies were gone forever. Out of 100 participants, only 28 survived. The academy considered Auguste a hero, but he repeatedly objected. Pointing to Linter standing silently by the window, Auguste insisted, "Whether you believe it or not, the one who saved everyone was Linter." A voice called, pulling Linter from his thoughts. Turning around, he saw Aln and the great healer fully recovered, their eyes shining brightly. "Linter, you're the hero!" Aln cheered while the great healer smiled and nodded in approval. Linter blushed slightly, scratching his head shyly. After the disaster, the Iris Divine Academy recognized his talent. Linter was now on par with Auguste, becoming a top-tier magic rookie. But this honor brought him no joy. He felt heavy-hearted as the moment of silence began honoring the unlucky students who had fallen. Quietly, he whispered, "Father, does this tragedy have anything to do with you?" The next day in the library laboratory, Linter stood before the imprisoned dragon skeleton. It kept calling out its child's name, unsure if the young dragon was truly its offspring. Linter ordered the steward to bring out the young dragon. When the young dragon appeared before the skeleton, it panicked and clung tightly to Linter, trembling. Then a miracle happened. The dragon skeleton's body gradually grew flesh and blood, transforming into a magnificent white mother dragon. It spoke, "Now I can communicate with my child." The young dragon recognized its mother, approached, sniffed, then burst into happy tears and rushed into her arms. They embraced, tears sparkling as they reunited after so many years apart. The mother dragon looked at Linter, voice choked. "What luckier thing could there be than my child still alive and well?" "Thank you, Joji. You kept your promise to save my child." Linter was stunned. Joji was his father's name, John Fred. "You mean my father promised to save your child?" he asked, heart racing. The mother dragon's gentle eyes responded, "I didn't know Joji had a child. I only sensed magical power from you exactly like his." She paused, voice deepening. "My physical body was destroyed. I exist only through magic." "But did Joji experiment on my body as well?" Linter shook his head, eyes wide open. "I don't know what my father is doing or where he is. Everyone says he betrayed humanity to save dragons during the crusade. I used to think I understood father, but now I'm not so sure." The mother dragon said softly, "I don't know what kind of person your father was. Yes, Joji, he is different from those who experimented on me. I know you want to ask about this laboratory, but I don't have much time left." She paused, her voice trembling. "I trust you, Linter, just as I trusted Joji, my son Izo. I entrust him to you. If you meet Joji, tell him the cracked valley in the east is not the end of the world. That is the truth about a new world." At this moment, Linter frowned, wanting to ask more, but time ran out. The mother dragon smiled one last time to say goodbye. The system rang out, "Congratulations, farm owner, on completing the mother dragon's final wish mission. Reward water dragon egg shard." Linter froze, realizing the chains binding the mother dragon were not physical shackles, but the obsession with the safety of her child. She endured even though only her skeleton remained to protect Izo. "Dragons have deep feelings too, huh?" Linter murmured, his heart stirred by the difference from the historical records about dragons. The system continued. "Congratulations, farm owner, on receiving a new member, the Nightmare Dragon ISO." The magical notes in the laboratory had changed due to mission completion. Linter recalled the magic notebook he picked up on the lab bench. At first, it only contained a passage from Mr. Oliver to his father, but now the pages were no longer blank. Then Linter ordered the steward to bring Iso to the farm for Dai Jiao to soothe it. He sat down and opened the magic notebook. The content appeared, "Dragon blood drug experiment using dragon blood to enhance human strength, helping them be as strong as dragons to confront the dragon clan." Linter was stunned. What his father and Mr. Oliver did was not to create monsters, but to help humans fight dragons. A note from Oliver shook him. "Lately, I have worried about the relationship between humans and dragons. We should not let greed blind us and become cruel to such a noble being. I sincerely hope that you like me will stop this terrible experiment before it causes more sins." Signed, Oliver. Linter was stunned. His father, John Fred, once engaged in forbidden experiments. But what made him change? And Oliver, did he give up or choose a more radical path using dragons to create monsters like the giant nightmare? These questions pierced deep, but had no answers. Suddenly, the system rang out, detecting a secret agency, removing the ink bottle cap to open. Linter immediately complied, his hand trembling as he opened the cap. A crack sounded. The desk shook, revealing a dark cellar below. Dust covered the lamp, a sign this place had long been unused. Linter stepped down, full of doubt. At the end of the path stood a strange wall like a seal for an entity. When he touched a circle, a teleportation lit up, radiating a familiar magic, the magic of his father. At that moment, Linter stepped through and suddenly found himself in a water-filled underground tunnel. A voice roared, detecting magical waves of an intruder calling monsters to clean up. Linter hurriedly ran, heart pounding, as the monsters arrived. He vanished while they argued loudly about scaring away the target. Linter hid in the shadows, recognizing the garbage-cleaning monster with black scales identical to the giant nightmare. He wondered if they were related to the tower attack, but the clues were too vague to act hastily. Linter remembered the well when going down. He turned back, climbed up to check the exit leading to a warehouse, but carelessly didn't see a soldier cleaning. The soldier shouted, "Thief!" Linter panicked, jumped back down the well, only to find it was a one-way path. He was trapped. Another voice echoed, "This is the Misty Cloud Trading Guild." Linter looked up, stunned, to recognize an acquaintance. Both sides stared at each other tensely. Linter was shocked to see old Lucas, who once sold the elf Nicola. Lucas glared, "You stinky brat, how dare you turn your back after receiving gifts from me?" The accusation made Linter furious, clenching his fists tightly. Suddenly a girl stepped forward, Vivian Mason. She recognized Linter, her eyes flashing with surprise. "Why call him a thief?" Lucas didn't hesitate, pointing at Linter. "He's the thief, miss." Lucas Linter's memories rushed back, recalling the announcement on the tower gate. Her full name matched Vivienne Masson, coinciding with the Misty Cloud Trading Guild. But contrary to Lucas, Vivienne stepped forward, blocking Linter, her voice firm. "Enough, Lucas. Linter is not a thief." Even though Lucas kept listing crimes Linter might have committed in the warehouse, Vivienne decisively said, "I brought Linter here to meet my sister." Shortly after, at the Misty Cloud Trading Guild headquarters, Vivienne left to fetch herbs, leaving Linter with Ellis, the guild president. Ellis's sharp eyes began questioning, "No one can get out of that dry well, but you did. How?" Linter frowned in confusion. "What she means is that I'm trapped because of the magic circle sealing the exit." Ellis shook her head with a deep voice. "It's a secret passage accessible only from below. No one can come down from above." Linter didn't believe it and snapped. "She must be saying that to hide the secret base underground where the Mist Cloud Trading Guild runs shady businesses." Ellis sighed, her eyes tired. "Linter, you're imagining things. I know you're hostile toward us because of the incident with Lucas. He left a bad impression, but we have our own reasons." She paused, her voice lowering. "Enslaving elves is immoral, and I always opposed it. But Lucas grew up in the trading guild, seeing it as family. He secretly captured elves to fund helping everyone here live better." Linter frowned suspiciously. "Living better." "The Mist Cloud Trading Guild is the largest in the capital. Why would it rely on elf trading to survive?" Ellis gave a faint smile and finally admitted the secret basement isn't a place for shady business. It's evidence that a dark force is choking the Mist Cloud Trading Guild. Then Ellis looked at Linter with a flicker of hesitation before continuing in a low voice. "You're Vivienne's friend, so maybe she already told you that story. Long ago, one of our large trade convoys was attacked. Only one child survived Vivienne. An 8-tier beast slaughtered everyone, including the strongest guards, because no one could break its damage immunity shield. When reinforcements arrived, they found Vivienne hidden beneath the bodies of the adults." She stopped, her voice bitter. "That beast was an artificial mutation revenge from a powerful force because our father refused to cooperate with them." Then Ellis sighed, her eyes opening wide. "To protect Vivienne and the Mist Cloud Trading Guild, as the heir, I had to agree to cooperate with the enemy who killed our father. For 5 years, they've forced us to supply special medicinal herbs through the secret passage they built. The guild is now almost empty, on the brink of bankruptcy." At this, Linter was stunned, the largest guild in the Empire in such a state. The pieces slowly connected the force controlling the Mist Cloud Trading Guild. Could it be the one behind the attack on the Iris Holy Academy? He murmured, watching Linter sink into thought. Ellis called out loudly, "Linter, snap out of it!" He looked up determined. "I trust you, but you haven't told me the whole truth. I want to know more." Ellis agreed. "Give me the list of medicinal herbs the mastermind forced you to supply." Ellis nodded, signaling him to follow her. Linter was surprised by her easy agreement. The list appeared dragon scales, laurel peppercorn, and leaves, all almost identical to the dragon blood formula that his father and Oliver once researched. Could Oliver be manipulating the Mist Cloud Trading Guild? Linter wondered, his mind spinning with suspicion. Ellis noticed Linter's focus and smiled. "You want to know who the secret force behind us is?" She raised an eyebrow mischievously. "I can share some information, but it won't be free." Linter's anger flared, cutting her off. "Do you want to join me in dealing with this force to free the Mist Cloud Trading Guild and maybe even the Iris Holy Academy from their control?" Under the dim light of the Academy, Ellis was stunned by the news. She hadn't expected them to dare confront the Empire's top academy. "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." With that thought, she silently planned to cooperate with Linter, a determination flashing in her eyes to secretly investigate their identities and inform Linter when the time was right. Because of this, she easily accessed the enemy's secret documents. Though uncertain if Elise intended from the beginning to use this information as a bargaining chip, Linter felt the hope this cooperation brought. She knew Linter was a young genius, but quietly wished that Vivienne wouldn't hear about this secret conversation. She didn't want her sister involved in such dangerous matters. Linter nodded in agreement, his voice calm and steady. That's good for Vivienne to return to the Holy Academy. Lost in thought, Linter was suddenly interrupted by Nicola and Jack. The two of them approached hurriedly, faces anxious. They were still shocked from the massacre at the tower, and only now reunited with their master. Suddenly, a knight stepped forward respectfully, handing Linter an invitation from Grand Prince Lead, ordering him to be present at the palace within 7 days for a feast. The soldier proudly said that Prince Lead is the king's only younger brother and the most trusted by the king. Linter smiled excitedly. "Oh, I'm so thrilled! Please tell the great prince that I will definitely attend the feast in 7 days." The knight was pleased with Linter's quick wit, thinking he was seizing a chance to advance. But in Linter's heart were different plans. He suspected the royal family, especially the Mage trading guild, might be behind the schemes and manipulation. No matter what, he wants to meet this prince. While Jack is proud that his master has caught the prince's attention, Nicola frowns with uneasy premonition. She whispers that the elf chieftain once said the more power humans have, the easier it is for them to turn bad. Linter smiles gently, pats Nicola's head, and says softly, "Don't think like that." After finishing up, he returns to his room, wanting to rest and regain his strength. He promises to have lunch with her and share what he's experienced in the tower. But as soon as he steps into the room, Linter teleports to the dragon farm. Suddenly, the fire dragon rushes out, urging him to run quickly, making Linter panic, thinking the baby dragon is in danger. It turns out Dara just wants to show off her childcare skills. Far away, growling loudly, Linter hurriedly scolds the fire dragon to be quiet so the baby can sleep. Usu just lost his mother and is just now able to drift off. Dara sulks, glaring at her master, thinking he has someone new besides her. Linter turns to ask the steward if they can make a nest for Usu. The system replies evenly that all dragons can build nests. With determination, Linter orders a regular dragon nest and doesn't hesitate to spend 10,000 gold coins to upgrade it to an intermediate nest not for Dara, but exclusively for Usu. This makes the fire dragon feel a pang of jealousy. Its bright eyes flash with hurt. Linter quickly explains calmly that before he didn't have enough money to build a nest, and besides the intermediate nest was too big, but Uso's nest fits perfectly for any dragon. He pauses briefly, then adds, "You can also fly everywhere, meaning you'll have 2 nests." After some thought, Dara nods, finding his reasoning quite reasonable. Linter quietly sighs in relief that the female dragon listens, because every time Dara sulks, her loud growls cost him a lot of effort to soothe her. Soon, Uso's new nest is built, expanding the farm's territory by a new area. The fire dragon is excited about the new home and immediately imagines itself on the soft bed. After a survey, Dara evaluates this house as only slightly inferior to her own nest. Linter smiles and invites the fire dragon out to the training ground. Dara is thrilled because it's about to continue Task 6, fighting the blazing lions. More precisely, Dara wants to bite off their tail fur to avenge its own tail that was bitten before. At first, Linter thought the training ground was just for simple tasks, like teasing dragons with sticks. But later, the difficulty increased, especially when facing the fire lions. Although he and Dara persevered through the tasks for a whole week, their combat skills and teamwork improved significantly. Finally, after much effort, Dara successfully bites the tail of a fire lion and throws it into the water. Immediately, the system announces evenly, "Congratulations, farm owner, you have completed Training Task 6 and unlocked Training Task 7. Today's training quota is full. Please come back next time." Despite this, Dora and Dara still eagerly play, or rather train, with Linter. Every time they finish, they linger, reluctant to leave. Though exhausted, Linter still reluctantly indulges them until he has no strength left. After training Task 6, he returns to the farm to have lunch with Nicola and Jack. After a long time apart, the meal ends and Linter begins an important task, but his mind is blank with no ideas. He suddenly recalls Elise Mason's request for help exposing that mysterious force. She had told him with full confidence that she heard from VVCham.vn that he created a high-level potion from scratch in just 1 week. Vivian's sparkling eyes seemed certain that Linter is a genius in alchemy. Soon Linter understands Elise's intentions clearly. As he predicted, she doesn't just want to create high-quality potions because that alone can't change the situation. Instead, she desires a completely new potion never before on the market, and it must be developed quickly. "I'm Elise." She smiles expectantly. "I know it's very hard to develop a new potion. It can take months or even years for an experienced alchemist, but given our current guild situation, we simply cannot wait that long. Yet you always manage to create miracles beyond everyone's expectations. So please help Linter. That's all I ask, a new quality potion completed in a short time to force that mysterious force to reveal itself." Suddenly, Linter remembers the senior vice chairman of the Magic Potion Association. The scene shifts to him standing in front of the Magic Potion Association, a place so remote it doesn't have a single visitor. Before Linter could knock, an unexpected explosion shook the space. With quick reflexes, he activated a shield, but the people rushing out of the smoke were not enemies. They were panicked. Alchemists fleeing. At the center of the explosion stood Dai-A, her body ablaze but confidently explaining the new potion she was brewing. Linter panicked, watching the flames lick her body, but Dai-A seemed unfazed. She shrugged lightly, her voice calm. I shouldn't have made such a fuss. I've already burned more than 10 outfits lately. For me, the research outcome is everything, even if it means this chaos. Daya revealed she was close to successfully creating a new potion, and Linter immediately invited her to cooperate. Since he was pursuing the same goal, Dai-A nodded instantly, her eyes lighting up. Having someone to help is even better, especially when your strength is unquestionable. But Linter set a condition, his voice serious. If they invent the new potion, he hoped she wouldn't report it to the Academy. Instead, they should secretly hand it over to the Mage Trade Guild so they can announce the results. The proposal stunned Dai-A, her brows furrowing. She warned in a low voice, if you secretly reveal the Academy's research results to the trade office for profit, you could be expelled. She assumed Linter was facing financial difficulties, but he shook his head, his eyes cold. I want to use that potion to create an opportunity to investigate the murderer. Dai-A was shocked to realize Linter held clues about the tragedy that took the lives of 72 top students. She urged anxiously, you have to report to the professors immediately. They've been searching for clues all this time, but found nothing. At that moment, Linter quickly stopped Dai-A, his gaze sharp, insisting that a professor at the Academy might be behind the tragedy. His assertion stunned Dai-A because Linter was not just speculating, he was almost certain. He explained in a low tone, if the Onlai incident involves mysterious forces, it's possible another teacher at the Academy is also involved. Not to mention Dai-A had undergone countless experiments to combine two opposing elements, fire and water, to an unimaginable extent. Suddenly, an explosion rang out, marking their 188th failure, but the balance point between the elements was still not achieved. Linter frowned, realizing that Dai-A had refined the fire and water too strongly, causing them to explode upon contact. She wanted to use them to create powerful offensive potions, but because of that, they had to reduce purity and find a balance so the two elements could coexist in one vial. Dai-A suddenly understood Linter's idea. Instead of forcing them to blend, they could separate the two elements into two vials and throw them simultaneously in battle. But she shook her head regretfully. I've tried that, but the explosion effect was greatly reduced. Linter pondered, then suddenly asked, is it necessary for them to be in the same vial? Could we create a vial that stores two separate elements like an hourglass, keeping them on two sides with just a latch in the middle? When pulled out, the two elements would come into contact and create a powerful explosion. Linter's brilliant idea lit up Dai-A's eyes, filling her with excitement. Usually, alchemists are so focused on the potion's ingredients that no one thinks about improving the container. Moreover, Linter suggested replacing water with ice to prolong the explosion time while ensuring the safety of the pull latch. Not long after a level 5 magic bomb was born. Low cost but outstanding effectiveness, it was enough to help the Mage Trade Guild earn huge profits. However, Linter felt uneasy, as if Dai-A had forgotten their original purpose. She confidently patted her chest. Linter, no need to worry. We'll handle the rest somewhere else under Lucas's charge. Crowds rushed to buy the magic bombs, the new product of the Mage Trade Guild, combining ice and fire elements much cheaper than other potions of the same level. It could make the black bloodstones explode. This product successfully lured the mysterious figure to appear. When he saw him, Lucas suddenly recalled the president's warning this was their life-or-death battle. But inwardly, he disagreed with this risky move. Afterwards, Linter entered the palace where he happily met Prince Led, a prince with a generous tone who praised Linter endlessly while mocking Agrim Sim for his miserable failure in the trial tower. He said the king loved to associate with outstanding people, so as soon as he heard about Linter, Prince Led immediately invited him over to make amends. For the rushed invitation, he had prepared a small gift before the feast. When he opened it, Linter was surprised. These were items specially prepared by the king for fire element mages. But what stunned him even more was that they were the exact potions he had once sold as a middleman at the market to earn money to upgrade Dara's dragon nest. Seeing Linter's fleeting hesitation, Prince Led sadly thought he didn't like the gift. Linter quickly accepted it, speaking warmly. He liked it very much. The prince's face immediately brightened. He boasted he spent 60,000 silver coins, equivalent to 60,000 gold, to buy 6 bottles, although in reality, Linter had only sold 15 bottles for 20,000 gold. The prince laughed heartily. Do you think I'm wasting money, Linter? Not at all, everything has its value. The effects of these potions far surpass other premium types, especially for fire mages. They not only enhance meditation efficiency, but also greatly boost fire elemental power. He paused for a moment, eyes brightening. I heard you're a genius in medicine, so I chose this special mid-tier potion, believing it would attract you more than regular premium ones, right? On the surface, Linter thanked him sincerely, but inside felt disappointed, secretly wishing the prince would just hand him 60,000 gold outright. Suddenly, Prince Lid changed the subject, voice full of implication. You've been researching a new potion at the Magical Medicine Association recently, haven't you? Strangely, at the same time, the Mai Shin Trade Association also launched a new potion that has been selling very well over the past 2 days. It coincides with the association's research theme. Linter hesitated, eyebrow raised suspiciously. Only people in Mai Shin Trade Association or the Great Asia know about this secret product transaction. So how does the prince know about it? Could the underground forces manipulating the trade association be connected to him? I refuse to be led astray. Linter slammed his hand on the table, voice harsh. Do you suspect I'm using the Academy's research results to profit the trade association? That's forbidden. I would never do such a thing. The prince calmly observed, evaluating Linter as a genius, but still inexperienced, easily exploited and controlled. He smiled and made an offer. Hand over the research products to me, Linter, and we will cooperate with the Mai Shin Trade Association. The offer confused Linter because everything he had was funded by the Academy. The prince seemed to see through his hesitation and continued. The king will provide the money for you. Prince Led smiled with tempting tone. This way all your future research results will belong to me, no longer tied to the Academy, but research funding will be guaranteed. And when I make a profit, I promise to split it with you half and half. The sweet offer warmed Linter's heart for a moment, but he quickly restrained himself, focusing on training his magic to make up for his shortcomings. The prince, though tired of recruiting talent, didn't understand why Linter still hesitated. Even though he promised everything, he refused to give up. He tempted Linter with a luxurious lunch personally prepared, but the light meal made Linter feel like he was being scrutinized. The prince's eyes seemed to look at him like prey. The feast ended and Linter stepped out full of suspicion. Could Prince Lead be the one behind everything, and is his kindness just a facade? Above all, that meal wasn't tasty at all. Suddenly, Linter spotted a familiar figure across the street. Lucas had actually been sitting there waiting for him. Though he didn't want to talk, Linter's eyes lit up immediately when Lucas held up a bag of money and he laughed loudly. Thanks to that old Lucas, finally got a chance to breathe. The bag contained a total of 300,000 gold coins, which Chairman Ellis had asked Lucas to give to Linter. Lucas followed closely behind, constantly praising him. Linter briefly thought Lucas was blocking him at the market to ask for a share, but that wasn't the case. Lucas seriously relayed Ellis's message. The mysterious forces know we've made money. They're starting to act demanding deliveries every 2 months, but yesterday they suddenly wanted to shorten the transaction period, trying to squeeze every last profit from the new potion. Tomorrow is the delivery day. Linter nodded, his cold gaze signaling Ellis that he would follow the group transporting the herbs through the secret passage. Everyone be ready. The next day, Lucas was restless because Elise and Linter had not yet appeared. While the transporter was present, his greedy eyes seemed ready to devour the money-making guild called Mai Shin Trade Association. But arriving earlier than expected, they were missing 2 types of ingredients, and to make up for it, they demanded double the payment next time. Although Lucas was annoyed by their greed, he still wore a warm smile. When all the medicinal herbs were transported, the transporter prepared to close the horned gate, making Lucas worried since Ellis had not arrived yet. Fortunately, at that moment, she appeared bringing the missing ingredients. Beside Ellis, Linter hid under an invisibility spell, silently observing. Just then, Ellis deliberately stumbled and threw a box of items towards the gate, part of their plan. Linter immediately jumped in and the trick succeeded. The transporter didn't detect any magical signs. The gate closed, and Linter thought that even though expensive invisibility potions were used, the detection light on the stone door would still flicker if someone passed through. So Ellis deliberately waited until the last minute, pretending to be flustered to conceal his infiltration without raising suspicion. Now, a mysterious alchemist was waiting for them, so they had to act quickly. Linter quietly followed the transport group. Suddenly, a group inspecting the underground pipes approached and stopped to talk. Unexpectedly, the monster that had appeared before smelled something and headed straight toward the invisibly cloaked Linter. He realized it had detected him. When it got closer, its master shouted, causing it to hesitate briefly. But the scavenging instinct of the beast was too strong. It still charged forward. To avoid being exposed, Linter unleashed the Long Clan's pressure, stunning the beast. However, the effect didn't last long, so he quickly retreated. That pressure also made the transporter tremble, and the beast tamer frowned, muttering, "Dragons can't be here." He checked again, but the scavenging beast found nothing. At that moment, Linter had already moved ahead inside. He thought the room ahead was the alchemist's research lab. Linter suddenly saw the number 2 carved on the rock wall. It turned out this place had many other labs, and he had to investigate immediately. But in the pharmaceutical lab, a disciple was reporting to his master about the completion of blood medicine number 261. "Master," he said. The master nodded and ordered number 261 to be taken to the data room along with intermediate-grade spirit medicine number 4, and to give him the components of blood medicine number 25. Linter was stunned when he realized the bottle on the table was something he had created. Not only Prince Led, but also their group had purchased it. He silently followed the disciple into the data room. When the disciple left with sample number 25, Linter discovered a document about Experiment 13 stating, "We confirm 12 bottles of special intermediate-grade spirit medicine circulating on the black market contain dragon fluid, unlike our experimental dragon. This could be liquid from a purebred dragon. If we find a purebred dragon, it would be extremely useful for dragon blood medicine research. We have spent a lot of money tracing its origin. Many guilds claim to have created that, but no one has matched the quality of this bottle." Then Linter sighed in relief, lucky that many had rushed to counterfeit the medicine, and he only sold 15 bottles, not continuing further. But the real question troubling him wasn't there. According to the experiment log, besides 3 bottles already used, they had worked hard to collect the remaining 12 bottles. Yet Prince Lead at yesterday's lunch had as many as 6 bottles. If those bottles truly came from here, it could only mean Prince Lead is the lab's owner, the one behind the suppression of My Shin Trade Association, and possibly the real culprit behind the Trial Tower tragedy. The powerful prince, the most trusted brother of the king. The big question before Linter, how to overthrow a prince. He was now certain that lead was the key to the murderer. But those 6 bottles were connected to Dara, so they couldn't be exposed publicly. The urgent task was to find more evidence here. Linter suddenly saw 2 figures approaching. One of them respectfully mentioned wanting the messenger to show more favor to their master. Linter immediately wondered how this messenger was contacting, and whether that master was Prince Led. Perhaps the clue would emerge through him. But as the 2 talked and walked straight toward Linter, the level 7 messenger suddenly darkened his expression, eyes sharp. He realized there was someone invisible nearby, immediately casting fire magic directly at the wall. He sneered excitedly. "A tiny bug thinks invisibility potion can fool me." Fortunately, Linter managed to activate his shield in time, but he knew he was no match for a level 7 mage. His only option was to run. 3 powerful fireballs chased after him, forcing Linter to turn back and defend. The vast difference in magic power knocked him back. Not stopping there, the messenger quickly completed the summoning spell for a fire spirit. The spirit dashed forward unnaturally fast with a terrifying attack power. Linter gritted his teeth, annoyed by the messenger's taunt. With no other choice, he had to counterattack. Dodging the flaming sword with a jump, Linter circled behind and used Dragon Claw skill combined with a stone shatter to stab straight into the fire spirit's chest, making it vanish before their eyes. To thank the escape route they accidentally opened, Linter pulled out several magical bombs using invisibility. The 3 bombs were only detected when they were very close. A terrifying explosion destroyed the laboratory along with all the data. The messenger, though, using a shield in time to protect his comrades, was unharmed, but swore in rage he would catch Linter. Meanwhile, Linter rode on Dara's back and sped away. Even without seeing, Linter clearly felt a strong magical force chasing behind. To escape the level 7 Mage Chal's magic circle was their only hope. But when touching the teleportation circle, a strange light flashed, confusing Linter. The circle seemed to be malfunctioning. Suddenly, from the distant underground waterway, a flash of light appeared. Linter immediately recognized it was the old messenger, eyes burning with excitement as he found his prey. As he approached, Linter suddenly vanished, making him roar in anger because Linter escaped using teleportation magic. But at that moment, Linter and Dara were forcibly pulled into a pitch-dark space like the place where he first opened the dragon farm. Linter suspected the teleportation gate had issues, but Dara whispered tensely that something was calling them. "I not only hear it, but can also smell it. That thing is very dangerous and is standing right in front of us." Linter gradually sensed a terrifying presence. Suddenly, blazing eyes opened to reveal a giant black dragon with a body engulfed in flames. Without a word, it launched an attack. Too late to escape, Linter hurriedly raised his shield while Dara lunged forward to add another layer of protection. But strangely, Linter felt no pain after the dragon's breath. It turned out to be just an illusion. As he realized this, a magic circle appeared, accompanied by a familiar voice welcoming his son. Linter was stunned. It was his father. He wanted to ask where he was, what happened to the secret laboratory, and what he did with the bone dragon. But the joy quickly faded when Linter realized the voice was just a recording of his father. Continue being here means you have met your partner. Linter suddenly understood the red light before it was activated by Dara. Only she could open the entrance to this mysterious space. His father's loud laugh echoed, "I guess you and Dara must have been scared out of your wits by the giant black dragon." That was true. Linter was terrified and Dara growled angrily at the prank. The voice continued, "I left you two a formula to help you become as strong as that black dragon. But once you receive the gift, this space will self-destruct and you will be returned to the outside world." Finally, he said, "Stay strong, son. I will wait for you in the Eastern Valley." As the words ended, Linter was overwhelmed with memories of his father. He almost forgot it was just a recording. Linter silently vowed that everything would be all right. He was determined to train harder to become stronger and ready to go to the Eastern Valley to meet his father. Dara impatiently kept urging Linter to touch the formula, eager to quickly gain power like the Black Dragon. The system suddenly announced that the Dragon Blood Potion recipe and the ancient Dragon Blood Awakening Potion recipe had been discovered. Linter was stunned. The Dragon Blood Potion was exactly what Prince Led had secretly researched in the underground laboratory data number 261 that they had not yet succeeded with. Yet your father was one step ahead. Moreover, the ancient Dragon Blood Awakening Potion can help Dara awaken her ancient bloodline, but it must be used carefully, or she could turn into a zombie dragon. At the same time, the system released the main quest to craft the Dragon Blood Potion and the ancient Dragon Blood Awakening Potion from the Water Dragon Egg. Each completed vial of potion will yield a fragment of water lineage. Linter focused on the two potions, deciding to craft them as soon as possible to test their effects on Dara. But Dara was impatient, eager to go out immediately to make the potions with him. Linter shook his head firmly. "No one knows where the teleportation gate will take us." He asked Dara to return to the farm first. As predicted, the teleportation gate took them straight to the library. Fortunately, Dara agreed to go back to the farm while Linter returned to the dorm to study the formula. Meanwhile, at the entrance of the Holy Academy, Prince Lead suddenly appeared. The trainees hurriedly invited him to wait to report to the supervising professor. The prince, with a gentle appearance, smiled. "Don't worry, I just came to find a friend." The guards sensed his friendliness and couldn't help but admire him. But inside, Prince Lade was boiling with anger. A few minutes earlier, the messenger reported that the data in the laboratory was still safe, but the intruder escaped through the teleportation gate. The prince suspected the intruder belonged to the Holy Light Sanctuary, because only they had the ability to bypass a level 7 messenger. The old messenger analyzed that only a few people knew about the lab and coveted it. Although there was no evidence the intruder used a magical bomb combining ice and fire which had been circulating for the past 2 days, he paused, lowering his voice. "The Trade Guild is tightly monitored with no mistakes in the number of bombs sold. According to reliable news, Linter created them." The prince narrowed his eyes. Now he was sure that Linter was involved with the Holy Light Sanctuary. At this moment, in front of Linter's room, Prince Lead, with a forced smile, spoke Linter. "You better not get involved with the sanctuary." But before he could knock, Linter suddenly appeared from the side with an innocent voice. "Oh, you came to visit." The prince was startled and quickly replied, "I planned to visit you, but you suddenly appeared and surprised me." Those words were meant to soothe and hide the dangerous glance that flashed by. Linter tried to appear natural, but was full of worry knowing the prince suspected him. Suddenly, the prince narrowed his eyes, noticing Linter's strange outfit due to the rush. He forgot to change into the protective suit that Chairman Ellis lent him, and the invisibility magic had completely faded. Linter hurriedly explained this was protective clothing from the Magic Potion Association chairman. They had just been researching a new potion that kept exploding, so they needed to wear this for safety. Still, the prince noticed Linter's embarrassment, his eyes flashing suspicion. He smiled with a hidden meaning. "I want to visit the Magic Potion Association where confident talents constantly create new potions." The sudden proposal startled Linter, who inadvertently shouted, revealing a panicked expression. The prince sarcastically said, "You don't want me to come, do you?" Linter hastily flattered, trying to sound natural. Not at all a noble like you visiting a small academy association is an unprecedented honor. I'm just surprised. He added, I am also preparing to go to the association. Please wait a moment while I get some documents. In truth, Linter wanted to enter the house to find a way to deal with it. Meanwhile, the prince ordered soldiers to surround the house and used magic to block all communication signals. A few minutes later, Linter came out with a stack of documents. The prince suspected they were information about the new potion, grabbed them, but was disappointed to realize they were just poison formulas, a poison that releases a gas that quickly evaporates, causing paralysis and unconsciousness, very useful for setting traps or blocking pursuit. On the way to the Magic Potion Association, Prince Lead, with unrelenting confidence, kept scrutinizing. He knew his soldiers had surrounded Linter's house and cut off all communication with the association, so he forced Linter to explain the characteristics and main ingredients of the potion. He wanted to ensure Linter couldn't lie when facing that pharmacist. Upon arrival, Linter introduced Prince Led and Dai, but both seemed to have known each other before. This made the prince even more worried. He thought privately if Linter joined Dai's faction, it would be a much greater threat than the Holy Light Sanctuary. With a sarcastic smile, he said, Dai recruiting a talent like Linter is truly impressive. Dai calmly shook her head. No, we're just friends. Seeing them chat so closely, Linter was briefly surprised, but that expression made the prince realize he didn't know Dai's true identity, and she had never used her status to get closer to Linter. The prince laughed loudly with hidden meaning. Haha, Dai is a genius pharmacist just like you, Linter. How could I not know? Everyone relax, I'm just here to visit the genius's laboratory. He paused, his gaze sharp. By the way, the king's estate outside the city was attacked. Many assets stolen, many injured. The culprit used magical bombs of ice and fire developed by you guys. Of course, this has nothing to do with you two. The king just wants to check if there are any clues from those who bought the medicine. Linter broke out in a cold sweat, silently realizing there was no estate at all. The prince was clearly referring to the secret underground lab, a true old fox. Linter hurriedly replied, trying to sound calm. I apologize that the medicine we developed caused trouble for you. Although we want to help you, no academy regulations forbid us from risking selling medicine to anyone outside the My Trade Guild. Linter's confession made Dai shout in fury. You told the royal family about selling our research results. This is serious and could get us expelled. But when she saw Linter hastily explain, Prince Led narrowed his eyes, sensing something was off. The Dai he knew wasn't so quick to anger. He was sure they were both acting. The door behind what was called the new pharmaceutical research room was also just a facade. With a calculating smile, the prince said, I mean no harm. The academy's rules are too rigid. If next time you need funding, just come to me to cooperate like with the new medicine you're researching. This time he deliberately emphasized it, hoping to open the door to expose their deception. But when the door opened, the prince was stunned. Inside was indeed a new poison research room, even with Capolotica creatures mentioned in the documents he read on the way here. The biggest question in the prince's mind now was whether this new medicine was real. Dai and Linter took down a Capolotica and said quietly, Sorry, we cannot deliver this medicine to you. The magical bombs have already been handed over to the My Trade Guild. To compensate for this gap in the Academy's research, we have to create a new medicine as soon as possible. They pointed to a pile of documents explaining that they helped ease the Academy's investigation. The prince, in a bad mood with no loopholes found, had to say goodbye and leave. Linter exhaled in relief that everything went smoothly. He turned to thank Dai, but she looked at him sharply. What's going on? More precisely, what's going on with your second self? Shape-shifting medicine can't make someone grow a tail like that. Before Linter could respond, the system suddenly notified that the USO illusion had awakened. This report came just in time because USO usually slept all the time, and Linter had asked the steward to remind him when it woke after its growth phase. USO reached level 2, possessing hypnotic and mimicry skills. In an emergency, Linter had USO use its mimicry skill, and then sent it via the farm to the Magical Medicine Association. Dai, her eyes blazing with anger, shouted at Linter. I trusted you investigated everything from the ice and fire magical bombs to the royal secret cover-up, but you don't trust me at all. Linter was embarrassed and heavy-hearted. He understood humans always saw dragons as mortal enemies, always wanting to kill or exploit them. To protect USO and the others, he was forced to hide the truth. Just then, USO's sleepy, half-closed eyes returned to its original dragon form and snuggled up to Linter. Daya was stunned seeing the form of a small dragon. Linter thought it was over, but unexpectedly Dai stepped forward and gently hugged USO with a soft voice. "This is the first time I've seen a dragon. It's so cute, completely different from the rumors." At that moment, Linter was amazed and confused, so he asked her, "Aren't you afraid of dragons?" Daya smiled with distant eyes. "Everything has a reason. Most see dragons as enemies, as destructive disasters, but a senior I respect doesn't think so. She was my first teacher, a traveling scholar seeking truth. One day, while investigating in the Eastern Valley, she fell off a cliff and encountered an injured white dragon. At first, she just wanted to study dragons, but after healing it, they became friends. Sadly, the dragon was killed by mages when it came to rescue her. Since then, she has wondered if dragons really are disasters. To find the truth, she traveled everywhere, researching legends and historical documents about dragons. But just one day before announcing her findings, she mysteriously died in the Vin 9 city library. Daya paused. His voice lowered. People said it was a punishment from the gods because she insulted the dragons. They used that story to propagate that dragons are disasters' enemies that must be destroyed. But after seeing USO, I am more convinced her death was a conspiracy to cover up the truth about dragons. She looked at Linter's sincere eyes. "Don't worry, I won't harm this little dragon." "Linter, can you trust me a little more?" Linter bowed his head, apologetic voice. "I'm sorry for hiding this from you all this time. I never thought there could be someone in this world who doesn't hate dragons." He took a deep breath and decided to open up. "I will tell you everything about the prince and USO." Soon after Linter detailed to Dai how he rescued USO, the child sealed inside the giant illusion body, along with his investigation in the underground lab about the dragon farm. Because it involved Charlotter, he only said it was his own spatial magic. When finished, Linter looked at Dai seriously. "After hearing all this, do you suspect Prince Led is behind the tower tragedy?" Dai shook her head, eyes full of doubt. "I find it hard to believe the prince is the king's brother. Their relationship is very good. How could he do something that damages the empire's foundation? Besides, the prince always focuses on honing his talents. If many outstanding students died in the tower, how could he be behind it?" Linter responded, voice low. "Though there's no direct evidence, the giant illusion, the underground experiments, and the special magic potion I created all point to the prince." Those clues left Dai confused. She muttered, "I don't know if I should report this to the king. If your prediction is wrong, it will destroy the relationship between the two brothers." Seeing Dai's hesitation, Linter briefly thought she might have a special relationship with the prince, making her unwilling to believe the truth. Suddenly, Dai shouted, sharp eyes. "Linter, think again. There's a contradiction in your analysis. If USO was sealed inside the illusion, as you said, but according to the basement records, there was no purebred dragon in the lab. This conflicts with the idea that the prince was behind the tower incident." At that moment, Linter was startled to realize his mistake. When in the lab, he focused only on confirming the owner via the potion he created, and overlooked this detail. However, that contradiction can't explain the similarity between the underground research and the giant illusion monster. Linter frowned, wondering if he missed some important detail. Then he blamed himself, voice full of regret. "It's all my fault for not finding more information." After sneaking into the lab, he knew Prince Lead would increase security, making further investigation harder. Thinking of the messenger who discovered him, Linter suddenly had an idea: kidnap someone close to the prince. That person surely knows many secrets about him and the giant illusion. Daya quickly warned, worried voice, "That messenger is a level 7 mage, someone you barely escaped from with your life." Linter calmly reassured, "Don't worry. As long as the Mei Shin Merchant Guild still supplies herbs to them, even if they relocate, we can still find their potion formula. The opportunity will come." At Prince Lead's palace, Cold Eyes muttered, "Although Linter seems fine on the surface, I always feel he's hiding something." He dismissed suspicions about connections to the Light Sanctuary because Dai is beside Linter. She can't be linked to foreign forces, but the prince is still uneasy about him. Linter is a born super genius, definitely hiding secrets. So he decided to ask the Dark Sanctuary, the prince's allies and rulers of the Dark Empire, to join the research on dragon blood medicine. It is a gift they exchange in cooperation with the prince, helping to hide their power within the empire. Investigating Linter's mystery would be a small favor the Dark Sanctuary is willing to do. Back at the Magic Thukma Association, Linter felt a chill whenever he heard someone whisper behind his back. During this time, he and Dai A focused on experiments. First, to erase the prince's suspicion, they had to turn the toxic gas poison into a new research topic. Second, they needed a convincing explanation for the academy or their funding would be cut off. Linter also spent time creating medicine for Dara, but the progress was unsatisfactory. One ingredient in the ancient dragon medicine formula is another type of medicine, but the records about it are too chaotic. Linter had to experiment by giving Dara each vial to drink. Sometimes Dara would turn into a hot air balloon floating in the sky, failing repeatedly. Dara's relentless enthusiasm for getting stronger gradually faded, making Linter seriously comfort him, and promise the fire dragon, "I have studied countless books on medicine. This time it will definitely succeed." But Dara, with tears in his eyes, cried, "Why not make the dragon's blood medicine? Why make me suffer like this?" Linter laughed, realizing Dara didn't even remember how many times he had promised. He gently explained, "It's not that I don't want to make the dragon's blood medicine, but according to the notes, that medicine can only be made from the blood of a dragon who has awakened the ancient bloodline, so I have to make this medicine first." Seeing Dara sad and afraid of turning into something strange if the medicine was wrong, Linter couldn't bear to force him. But Dara roared with strong determination, "No matter what I turn into, I accept it." He closed his eyes and quickly drank the vial like lightning. Surprisingly, this medicine was very different from before. Dara confidently raised his voice. "The medicine worked. We're stronger now." Linter, on the other hand, thought they had failed because the system gave no response. Suddenly, Dara's body heated up, spitting out fierce columns of fire. The system urgently warned the ancient dragon bloodline of Fire Dragon Dara is about to awaken. However, due to lack of the necessary fire attribute mana, health value is rapidly decreasing. Please take immediate action. Linter hurriedly transferred fire mana to Dara, but did not anticipate that Dara's bloodline required the medicine to supply mana. His power was too weak to stop Dara's blood from dropping. Panicked Linter ordered Dara to return to the dragon's nest and bathe in lava immediately. He remembered what his father once said: if Dara's dragon medicine is not used properly, Dara could turn into an undead dragon, the thing Linter feared most. After a while, Dara's blood slowed its drop. The body still ached but felt more comfortable. Although Linter couldn't see Dara from above, he noticed her health gradually recovering through the system. Suddenly, the temperature around dropped sharply. The dragon's nest shook violently, shaking the adjacent USO dream nest. USO woke up immediately, realizing something was happening to his sister Dara. The system suddenly warned urgently, "The fire dragon's nest is about to collapse due to losing too much fire attribute mana. Dara's health is rapidly declining," requesting the farm owner to provide 20,000 gold to restore. Linter immediately agreed, and after restoring the nest, his remaining gold was 400,156. Dara's health gradually recovered, but there was no time to relax. The system warned again that the dragon's nest was about to collapse, requesting an additional 20,000 gold. Dara's health continued to decline. This terrifying loop repeated about 10 times. Linter did not hesitate to pay gold to the system, but Dara's blood was almost at zero. USO worriedly approached Voice Innocent Brother. "Is my Dara down there?" Linter, distressed, explained Dara was awakening the ancient bloodline. It required a lot of mana, but he only had enough gold left for one more refill. Before he could finish, USO suddenly flew away. Linter was confused, not knowing what it intended to do. It turned out USO was transforming. After a long sleep, the mana accumulated in the Dream Dragon's body was enough to reach level 3. But this evolution at such a critical moment did not reassure Linter. The system alert dragged Linter back to reality. Dara's health was still dropping non-stop. Meanwhile, his gold was depleted. Fear squeezed Linter's heart. He didn't want to lose Dara. Didn't want her to become an undead dragon. He sank into a stream of desperate thoughts until the system shouted, "Get out of the volcano mouth immediately," detecting an extremely strong dragon breath. Linter looked up, stunned. It was USO in the perfected dream form. It blasted dragon breath straight down into the volcano mouth, piercing through the lava layer directly into Dara's body. Thanks to that, Dara received the necessary mana. But the price to pay is USO loses most of her magic and returns to her original form. In return, Dara successfully awakens 40% of her ancient bloodline, gaining an intermediate self-healing skill. Her health gradually recovers. Experience nearly reaches level 5. Dara, feeling a mix of sadness and gratitude, turns to USO and thanks her USO. She is saddened because USO sacrificed her magic through the dragon's breath to help her awaken smoothly. The cost is that USO's future level-ups will require 3 times the normal amount of magic. But USO cheerfully just smiles. As long as I get to play with you every day, Dara, I'm happy. Seeing USO's kindness, Linter feels overwhelmed with happiness. A few days after Dara's ancient bloodline awakening, she always stays by USO's side to care for and repay the sibling who helped her overcome danger. Although Dara reassures her not to worry, Linter still carefully prepares to avoid any accidents after the awakening. He spends 500,000 gold borrowed from Dai to buy several barrels of fire attribute magical medicine. At the same time, Linter successfully crafts dragon blood medicine from Dara's blood after awakening. The crafting process is exhausting, but the clear result is that both surpass the final stage of the dragon training ground. The steward cheers, congratulating the farm owner for clearing the dragon training ground. A gigantic dragon god arena instantly appears nearby. The system begins searching for a combat target for Dara. After a moment of random selection, the chosen opponent is an ancient steel dragon with the same speed level as Dara. The system announces the rules and victory conditions. One side loses or falls. The fire dragon's reward is high experience. Awakens an additional 10% of ancient dragon blood. The farm owner inherits all the magic of the steel dragon. Punishment for failure. Dara loses a lot of experience. Deducts 10% of ancient dragon blood already awakened and permanently loses the chance to inherit the steel dragon's magic. Each ancient dragon only has one chance to win or lose. Do you want to start the challenge now? Linter hesitates, but Dara excitedly hisses, I've never fought my own kind. Even after awakening her ancient bloodline, she is still like a child. Linter notices Dara's fire magic is stronger than steel. Without hesitation, he accepts the challenge. The match begins. Dara charges straight at the ancient steel dragon, unleashing Dragon Claw skills, but the opponent easily dodges. Dara mischievously slams the ground, creating dust to play hide-and-seek. But in less than a second, she is hit by the steel tail and thrown straight into the wall, losing 10% health plus paralysis effect. Dara tries to fight hand-to-hand, but only she suffers heavy damage from outside. Linter watches nervously. Dara's combat skills are clearly far inferior to the ancient steel dragon. Dara casts fire magic to attack, but when the opponent dodges the fireball, she quickly grabs its leg, trying to knock it down. However, the steel dragon is too heavy and immediately retaliates with a strong hit to her face. Now the fire dragon Dara has only 30% health left. The steel dragon flaps its wings and flies up from the void, releasing steel arrows with lightning attributes. Linter anxiously judges Dara has little chance to win, though he advises her to give up. Dara roars firmly, I will never admit defeat. She counters with the ancient dragon's breath skill, which not only dispels the steel arrows, but also deals heavy damage to the steel dragon, exhausting it. But when Dara intends to finish it off, the pressure from the ancient skill backfires, causing her countless wounds. Luckily, the battle ends with both dragons losing the ability to fight. The system declares a draw. The fire dragon can challenge again after 1 week. Dara wakes up embarrassed for being defeated by her own skill. It turns out she hasn't mastered the new skill after awakening her bloodline. Linter comforts her, keep trying, next week we'll do better. But Dara still murmurs regretfully for not winning. Linter changes strategy to motivate her. Dara, you're so cowardly. Afraid to face a stronger opponent? The fire dragon growls in anger. Linter smiles and suggests, watch how the steel dragon fights you. Focus on using wings, tail, and body to fight. I will train with you at the prince's palace at the same time. Blood boiling, he roars. What is the Dark Holy Palace doing? They were assigned to track Linter, but no results have been found yet. The messenger hurriedly reports a secret letter from the Dark Holy Palace, but its content concerns the Iris Holy Academy. They reported to Headmaster Clabstone that he will return soon to investigate the massacre at the Challenge Tower. At the same time, they requested the Dark Holy Church to temporarily stay hidden because this letter was sent by him while pursuing them. The prince sneered bitterly. The Dark Holy Church is really skilled. I wanted them to deal with Linter, but they ended up revealing their whereabouts. Yet now they are begging him to handle Linter for them. The reason lies in the giant illusion dragon in the Challenge Tower, where traces of a small dragon are hidden. Not an ordinary dragon, but from the pure dragon lineage famous in history. What made the prince suspicious was that the Dark Holy Church had flatly denied possessing a dragon when he interrogated them. Now the memory flashed of the illusion dragon with mimicking magic. He frowned, recalling the visit to the Magical Potion Association to investigate Linter, despite always feeling Linter was hiding something. Jaya had come forward to testify, causing the prince to doubt him. The conclusion was that Linter must have used the illusion dragon to disguise himself and send false messages to Jaya. Jaya, enchanted by the lofty ideals of an old teacher about protecting dragons, very likely lied even deeper. The prince realized Linter infiltrated the underground laboratory with the help of the Bone Cloud Trade Guild. The betrayal of the Trade Guild, who was supposed to be an ally, made his blood boil. He clenched his fist and ordered the messenger with an icy voice, "Contact the Iris Divine Academy immediately. I want those arrogant geniuses to taste despair for daring to challenge me." The scene shifts to the Divine Academy, where the atmosphere is filled with tension mixed with excitement. Linter entered the room, eyes wary as she walked away with a gentle smile but hidden intentions to summon him. She spoke slowly. "Linter and Eros are the top students of this generation at the Divine Academy. We are preparing a special final exam to send you two into the Challenge Kingdom so other students can observe and learn. I hope this will motivate students to strive for progress. Of course, the Academy won't treat you badly besides generous credit rewards. I have also secured a special reward from the Prince for you." Egan was ready to agree to participate. "What about you? Does Linter want to join?" Linter stood silently, his heart stirring. He longed to face Egan's sting, but the prince's reward made him hesitate as if sensing a trap lurking in the shadows. But despite his hesitation, Linter could not refuse. The system sounded with a cold voice reminding him he had yet to complete the task of defeating Erosine to collect the last water shard. With 7 shards already in hand, completing this challenge would allow Linter to summon the legendary water stream. Reluctantly, he nodded in agreement with her departure. There was still a week before the semester ended. Linter devoted all his effort day and night practicing magic tirelessly, not only to face Erosine, but also to prepare for unexpected dangers in the Challenge Kingdom. Not only Linter was training hard, Erosine, with formidable perseverance, was also preparing for the upcoming exam. On the exam day, the atmosphere in the Challenge Kingdom was boiling like a furnace. Linter, a 4th-level fire mage, faced Augustine, a 5th-level wind and thunder mage. As Linter cast a fire snake spell rushing forward, Augustine glided lightly like the wind, skillfully dodging. From the Codisa stand's 8th-level fire mage, Gimeo observed with sharp eyes. Gimeo nodded slightly, remarking that regardless of magical control or casting speed, neither was inferior to any mage of their level. But Linter's power far exceeded that of a 4th-level mage, which surprised him. Linter, with a rapid rhythm, completed a chain of spells, firing numerous magical arrows straight at Augustine. But that attack was too fragile. Augustine did not even need to dodge, just slightly curled his lips. However, he quickly realized Linter's casting speed had surpassed their previous encounter at the Challenge Tower. To force Linter to reveal his true strength, Augustine began casting a spell. In an instant, his magic swallowed Linter's 5th-level spell. Even more astonishing, Augustine, having just reached 5th level less than 3 months ago, wielded the Thunder God's Hammer, a 7th-level spell rivaling her strongest water magic technique. Its only weakness was its tremendous mana consumption and causing recoil damage to the caster. But Augustine, with eyes blazing determination, disregarded the cost as long as he could defeat Linter. Outside the stands, the crowd buzzed with excitement. The student council, led by Grana, mocked confident that Linter would be soundly defeated. They sneered at Ireland's group. But at that moment, Augustine's face suddenly turned pale. Linter unexpectedly activated the Fire Spirit Shield, a level 7 spell comparable to the Thunder God's Hammer. Orland's group rallied, turning the tide and enraging the student council. Augustine was confused, unable to understand how a level 4 mage like Linter could cast a level 7 spell. But then he realized Linter's magical aura had changed. Somehow he had ascended to a level 5 mage. The judges outside were also stunned as they began to realize the truth. Initially, they hadn't noticed because Linter deliberately suppressed his mana. But inside, Linter's anxiety surged. Without the intermediate magic immunity granted by the Fire Dragon, withstanding a spell 2 levels higher would be impossible. Linter's eyes blazed with determination as he cast another spell. He unleashed it like a deadly gift aimed straight at Augustine. The judges gasped in astonishment at this rare sight. Linter launched another level 7 spell following the Fire Spirit Shield. This was nearly impossible. Even Augustine, the student council president, was exhausted after a single level 7 spell. While his mana was depleted, Linter continuously cast 2 overleveled spells. Despite his efforts to defend, Augustine couldn't help but admire his opponent's talent. His level 6 Thunder Shield trembled, nearly collapsing under the pressure of Linter's flames. But Linter was not as comfortable as everyone thought. His chest felt like it was missing a beat, painful from casting over-leveled spells consecutively. Still, he succeeded in breaking Augustine's defense, causing Erland's cheer squad to roar with excitement, overwhelming the increasingly disheartened student council. Augustine gritted his teeth. Linter's flames were stronger than he expected, far surpassing his thunder magic. If he fell easily, he wouldn't be able to fulfill his duties as president, the mission the Academy assigned in this exam. To the shock of Linter and the audience, Augustine suddenly leapt into the air, wind swirling around him as he cast thunder magic, manipulating Linter's flames. His voice rang out sincerely. "I was wrong to underestimate you, Linter, but now you're so strong that I must admire you. Thank you for awakening the fire magic talent within me once again." The stands erupted in excitement. The cheer squad turned the tide, but the battle was far from over. Both as if in sync with a deadly rhythm, Linter and Augustine simultaneously cast their strongest spells, unleashing all their power mercilessly at each other. In the stands, old Di Maio furrowed his brow and asked the girl nearby, "What is the Kingdom Challenge level you two are fighting at?" She replied calmly, "The highest level for 6th grade students originally designed for teacher training." Jim Mayo left his eyes thoughtful. The girl suddenly felt uneasy. Why did the Academy raise the difficulty of the Kingdom Challenge to this level? If Linter and Arison's power isn't enough, can they pass a placement for level 7 mages? Back in the battle, Linter cast a spell summoning Dragon's Breath. The flames blazed as if to burn everything, but as he struck the ground beneath them, shook violently as if unable to withstand the terrifying power of both. The Kingdom Challenge quaked fiercely, collapsing right before the eyes of those in the Academy's observation area. While everyone marveled at the immense magic power Linter and Arison unleashed, that very power caused the destruction. Reyna snapped out of her shock and immediately ordered the medical team to prepare. Bazia, with a serious gaze, asked Erland to cast healing magic. According to teachers who had taught there, after the Kingdom Challenge collapses, the students inside are forcibly teleported out to the square. If treated promptly, no serious problems should occur. But when the portal signaling Linter and Arisine's teleportation opened, it suddenly malfunctioned repeatedly, warning that the teleportation failed. Worse, all teleportation gates closed, meaning the students inside could not escape. Rena's face paled with fear that the tragedy at the Challenge Tower would repeat. Erland did not hesitate to cast a search spell, detecting a dark magic force manipulating the Challenge Kingdom controlled by a mysterious sorcerer. Gia, with sharp eyes, immediately recognized it as the Dark Holy Sanctuary. If they had infiltrated the Empire earlier, perhaps the massacre at the Challenge Tower was also caused by them. Their purpose for returning this time was nothing less than revenge against Linter, who ruined their plan. But when Jaya called for everyone to support Linter, her expression suddenly changed. Whispers arose among the students the gate had become abnormal, and no one knew where it would lead. Even if they entered, they were no match for the Dark Sorcerer. If the gate closed before the teachers could arrive to help, everyone would die unjustly. So they chose to wait for the teachers to handle it and stopped gossiping, knowing that talking only caused more chaos. Still, they didn't understand why the teachers hadn't appeared yet. Gia, though full of unease, couldn't say more because she knew their reasoning was the wisest choice. Inside the collapsed Challenge Kingdom, a necromancer stepped out of the shadows, her smooth but cold voice fitting the expectations of the two geniuses from the Holy Iris Academy. "The duel just now was truly interesting, but you have spent too much magic and are severely wounded. Due to the harsh reaction of the Challenge Kingdom, it seems you no longer have the strength to resist, right? Don't worry, I'm not here to kill you. I just want to take these two handsome boys to the underwater prison of the Dark Holy Sanctuary as my guests. There you will be treated warmly until that illusionary dragon returns to us." Suddenly, a potion was thrown at the necromancer's arm, paralyzing her instantly. The one who threw the potion was none other than Senior G, eyes burning with determination. A few minutes earlier, although Jaya agreed that the student's choice was wise, she still felt uneasy. She knew if her father found out she hesitated, he would call her a fool. That's why she decided to rush through the gate, seizing the chance to heal Linter. But unexpectedly, a pale, bony hand suddenly appeared, grabbing Jaya's neck. The paralysis potion she threw was too weak against a high-level dark sorcerer. The necromancer sneered, but before her mocking smile was complete, she dispatched her opponent. Jaya did not enter alone. Following her were Ellen Vivian and the student council members who vowed never to abandon their president. Suddenly, another young man stepped in, eyes complicated. Though he hadn't liked Linter before during the event at the Challenge Tower, Linter inspired him as well as most others. They remembered why they joined the Holy Iris Academy, why they tirelessly studied difficult spells and practiced day and night just to one day become heroes they could be proud of. Now all the students of the Holy Iris Academy stood in line, shielding Linter and Erison, who were exhausted after the prolonged battle. But that sight moved hearts, and only excited the necromancer more. To her, these weak students were nothing more than human shields. Without hesitation, she cast a spell, summoning a giant bony arm swinging down. The students united to form a shield spell together. Though they held off of the attack, most of them fell. Erison, with sharp eyes, recognized it as 9th-level magic. Their shared shield could not hold for long. Many students risked their lives coming here to save Linter, to prevent a repeat of the Challenge Tower tragedy. But when Linter called Zyha to prepare to fight, a voice echoed in his mind asking for secrecy. But suddenly Eros realized that Headmaster Delastone, the Empire's strongest holy sorcerer, had returned. He immediately cast a radiant holy spell that lit up the entire Challenge Kingdom, expelling the unclean spirits that did not belong to this world. The necromancer took massive damage. She was shocked by his appearance, but still sneered. "That's good. Our people have infiltrated the academy, ready to strike again." From her words, Eros realized that the Dark Holy Church was the culprit behind the tragedy at the Trial Tower. Linter was troubled inside, wondering if the prince was connected to the spies of the Dark Holy Church. But the sorceress revealed nothing more, only casting a teleportation spell to escape. When Erison and Linter tried to pursue, Principal Delastone stopped them, his voice deep but firm. "You have your own missions to complete." Then he left, leaving Linter with a mysterious message. Shortly after everyone escaped, old Himeo sighed with relief, his eyes showing a mix of joy and anxiety. The Dark Holy Church is a formidable opponent, and if Principal Delastone hadn't appeared in time, the Academy would have lost many outstanding students. Aunt Saw spoke softly with a heavy heart, bowing her head in apology. "Teachers should protect the students, but every time something happens, we arrive late." Standing beside her, Linter smiled gently, reassuring her. "Aunt Saw, don't worry anymore. Thanks to Gia's healing team, all the students' wounds have been treated. Here is a letter from the principal addressed to you. The attacker said there's a spy inside the academy, so I had to give it to you personally." That's why Aunt Saw felt so conflicted. They didn't even consider the possibility that the Dark Holy Church could infiltrate the academy. This explains why the principal hasn't appeared since his return. Although the danger has passed for now, the academy is still not safe. Aunt Saw decided to evacuate the students from the academy to recover their health. But both Augustine and Linter shook their heads, firmly refusing. They hadn't settled their rivalry yet. Aunt Saw angrily shouted, "You've been fighting hand-to-hand for how long, and you're still worrying about this? Is winning more important than both of your safety? Not to mention the recent test drained all your mana. How could your weak bodies fight now?" Linter quickly stopped her, his voice deep but convincing. After explaining why they needed to continue, Aunt Sae reluctantly accepted this unreasonable demand. She shouted loudly, ordering the students to return to the square and their original seats. This move confused everyone, and when they learned the reason, they grew even more angry. The academy was on the brink of crisis. The urgent matter was to investigate the spies, not compete for the #1 title. Besides, everyone knew Linter and Augustine were out of mana. How could they fight? Opposition surged like fierce waves. But suddenly, right in the square, Linter threw a punch straight at Augustine. Brana was startled because she knew Augustine considered hand-to-hand combat crude, especially since neither had mana left. They were forced to participate in a shameful fight. Orland's group tried to stop Linter, while Zia worried the hidden enemy inside the academy would take advantage of this moment to act. But then Zia suddenly fell silent, her eyes brightening as if she realized something. She spoke firmly. "Chairman Augustine and Linter want to tell us that the Academy's order will not be destroyed just because the Dark Holy Church exists. They are declaring war on them right here." Still, some students remained worried because this wasn't the Dark Holy Church's first attack. Their power was terrifying, but some other students supported the idea, arguing, "If we study magic but always live in fear, what good is it?" Besides, with only 30 people, they held off 2 attacks from 9th-level dark sorcerers. The Academy has over 3,000 students, and previous attacks by the Dark Holy Church were all sneak attacks exploiting vulnerabilities. Now that their existence has been exposed, everything will be different. Those words sparked courage in the other students. They reasoned that the spy serpent must be very weak, only daring to hide in the shadows even now, not daring to make a move. With burning determination, the students vowed to expel the dark holy church from the academy sooner or later. Going back a few minutes, Linter looked at Aunt Saw with a deep but sharp voice. Have you forgotten the reason we hold this exam? The purpose is to motivate the students to strive and improve. In the Kingdom of Trials, the female soul summoner openly declared before everyone that the academy had spies from them. Could she have said it just for fun? Clearly, they want to sow doubt, divide us, and cause chaos so the dark holy church can act more easily. Back in reality, amid the roaring cheers, Linter and Erosine continued the mission assigned by the principal, completing the unfinished battle. Aunt Saw looked at the scene, her heart swelling with happiness. She silently thanked the two of them, those who always wholeheartedly inspired everyone's courage. A few hours after the match ended, amid cheers echoing throughout the academy, Linter fell to the ground, finishing slower, but still victorious. Yet in his heart, he thought the winner should have been Erosine. He only endured that long because his body was reinforced with lava and dragon blood potions, while Erosine relied purely on training and relentless effort. Though a bit dissatisfied, Linter knew the reward would be very useful for battles ahead. The mission to collect the water dragon shards was completed. Linter had enough shards to trade for a water dragon egg any time. Not long after leaving the infirmary, Linter sank into thought. As soon as he discovered the Dark Prince's secret laboratory, he immediately took full responsibility. Could they be hiding something from the prince? If the prince truly colluded with the Dark Sanctum, it would be a huge threat not only to Linter, but to the entire empire. The next day at the Magical Potion Guild, Linter lowered his voice, his gaze sharp as he spoke to Jaya. The most reasonable explanation right now is that the prince has colluded with the Dark Sanctum. This explains why the Dark Mages could attack the Empire's top magic academy. Moreover, their cooperation must be very close. Otherwise, the prince's laboratory wouldn't be using dragon blood to create dragon blood potions. He paused, his eyes flashing with determination. The Dark Sanctum has now been exposed, and only the prince could be hiding them. Maybe he's demanding their concession, like helping him develop dragon blood potions. These things definitely happen in the laboratory beneath the underground waterways. Jaya frowned, realizing Linter was plotting to sneak into the lab again to find evidence about the prince. Her heart was heavy with worry. If the prince truly cooperated with the Dark Sanctum, she didn't know how to handle it. Linter reassured her firmly. Don't worry, I believe the headmaster is somewhere and will support us if anything unexpected happens. I still have another powerful dragon. I just can't reveal it in front of everyone. Suddenly, a hoarse cough sounded right beside them, startling both. They were about to attack, but it turned out to be Erosine using invisibility magic. Linter angrily shouted Augusti eavesdropping, but then he realized Erosine had overheard him bragging about the other dragon. Linter hurried to explain to clear the misunderstanding, but Erosine raised a hand to stop him. His voice low, but resolute. I actually heard you shouting about having a dragon. Now I finally understand why you defeated the Nightmare Demon. But my duty is to protect the academy. I won't let you and your dragon take away my responsibility this time. Then Erosine asked to join them. Shortly after, in the secret underground laboratory, everything was silent. Everyone inside had been knocked out by a powerful sleeping potion made by Ja herself. For safety, Erosine had paid to buy each person an instant teleportation scroll so they could escape any time if discovered. Zia beamed teasingly. It's lucky to know a rich chairman. Meanwhile, Linter held his head, crying silently, clutching the teleportation scroll worth 1,000 gold coins. His heart ached over his huge debt. Finally, under the dim light of Laboratory Number 1, they found barrels engraved with the Dark Sanctum skull, alongside detailed documents about dragon blood potion development. Last time Linter went straight to Laboratory Number 2, so now, while exploring Number 1, they discovered this evidence. Still, it wasn't enough to directly connect the Dark Sanctum with the prince. Just then, Jaya suddenly stopped when she recognized a familiar figure, the prince's most loyal knight. With these clues, Jaya gradually accepted the bitter truth. The prince really has colluded with the Dark Sanctum. Suddenly, a high-level teleportation circle flashed beneath their feet. Jia panicked, not knowing where they would be taken. When they opened their eyes, they found themselves standing in a place resembling an invisible magical arena. The person has been disarmed. Erosine, in a deep but alert voice, orders the group to prepare to use the teleportation plate if the situation becomes dangerous. From behind a relentless army advances, the prince leads the secret army with a cold smile, welcoming the geniuses of the Holy Academy to the stage he himself has prepared. Everything seemed predicted except for Gia. She steps forward, trembling but full of anger, shouting loudly, "Prince, remember who you are!" A trusted younger brother of the king. The prince is beloved by the people. So why are you colluding with the Dark Holy Palace, those who massacred countless innocent citizens of the Empire? I want to know exactly why you are doing this. The prince laughs bitterly. Gia, you grew up in the royal palace and still ask such foolish questions. As you said, I am His Majesty's most trusted younger brother, the prince most loved by the people. But life means moving forward. What would happen if I became king? Those words made Gia shudder. The image of the kind uncle who once played with her, promised to always help her father and protect her, now shattered like a lie. From the prince's words, Linter also realized Zia's true identity. No wonder she always denied the truth that the prince was the villain. But Erison with sharp eyes spoke up. It's time to retreat. With their overwhelming numbers and the prince's confession, he surely won't let us survive. He revealed he used magical recording to capture everything, and the first thing is to deliver this evidence to the king. But as the three activated the teleportation plates, they suddenly shattered in their hands. Meanwhile, the prince stood there with a cold, unwavering smile. Just as the three were still confused, the prince curled his lips and coldly explained, "Last time Linter sneaked into the laboratory and escaped with an instant teleportation plate, so this time I prepared many engraved stones." But Linter frowned, because he had never used any teleportation plate then. Clearly, the messenger misunderstood. Erison interjected with a mocking smile. "The prince is indeed wealthy. The engraved stones can destroy any teleportation plate within range, but their price is 100 times more expensive." The prince replied without concern, "To get a dragon, I will pay any price." He looked straight at Linter and issued an ultimatum. "Hand over the illusion dragon. You are the heroes of the Holy Academy. If you submit to me, I will give you a way to live. Otherwise, only death awaits." Linter sharply questioned the incident at the trial tower because the prince clearly knew about the dragon's existence without hiding it. The prince sneered, "All internal information of the academy came from me." That confession made Erison realize he was the mastermind behind the tragedy. The prince, with a proud look, continued, "It is the slaughter of those students that makes me worthy to be king." Those words enraged all three, their blood boiling with no more words left. The prince waved his hand, ordering the secret army to charge. Linter immediately threw a fireball, the flames blazing fiercely. Erison activated his lightning skill bolts, tearing through the space. Zia, with absolute concentration, cast earth magic to enhance their defense. At the same time, she used wind magic to increase the group's agility while eliminating the assassins. Linter noticed the prince and the level 8 messenger standing calmly at a distance watching. Their clear intention was to use these soldiers to drain their mana, but Linter had no intention to conserve mana nor allow casualties. Before playing his lightning-fast trump card, Linter pulled Erison back, called Jaya out, then summoned the dragon's breath. The flames burst fiercely, astonishing both Erison and Jaya. The fire dragon roared, burning the surrounding area, causing the soldiers to panic and scatter amid screams for help. The prince's eyes lit up excitedly. Besides the illusion dragon, Linter also possessed another dragon. When Erison was surprised and begrudgingly praised the unexpected power, the compliment made Linter smug, but also made Erison suddenly want to punch him. Linter laughed and revealed that at the trial tower, Jaya saved everyone and the dragon. It is not a demon as history records. First, curious Erison used wind magic to touch the fire dragon, but was immediately scolded by it. Now all the soldiers have been wiped out by the fire dragon, leaving only the prince and the messenger. At this moment, Linter orders the fire dragon to charge forward to end everything, but the messenger remains unfazed and begins chanting a half-shadow magic spell called the Time Knot. A burst of light flares up, leaving Linter stunned. Ordinary fire magic couldn't harm Zia, but this dark magic was so powerful it caused the fire dragon pain. Not stopping there, the envoy launched another strike with the Hell-Tongue Spear. As the attack rushed forward, Zia bravely turned and shielded Linter, taking the full damage instead. But despite being hit, Jaya stood firm, her eyes burning with determination. Seeing the envoy was too troublesome, she struck hard with her tail, which had been trained since the arena battle, sending him flying before he could get up. Erison, swift as a blade, combined thunder with Jaya's water magic to create a binding circle that electrified and paralyzed the envoy. Gia spoke firmly to restrain the old man while simultaneously ordering Linter and Erison. The prince was hiding behind, but the envoy still smiling mockingly despite being bound confused all three of them. The prince no longer wanted to play games. Stepping out from the shadows, A giant demonic arm appeared, breaking free from the summoning circle. He sneered and introduced it as his favorite, the Thunder Demon, the strongest under the Saint rank and 8th level monster. Linter suddenly realized why the envoy kept mocking Jaya to buy time for the prince to complete the summoning circle. If this demon was like the giant illusion from the Challenge Tower, the tragedy from years ago would repeat. Not letting it fully escape, Linter immediately cast a spell launching the Fire Goblin's spear while coordinating with Jaya's ancient dragon breath. But half of the Thunder Demon's body had already broken free. It gathered lightning on its horns and unleashed a terrifying energy blast that shattered all their magic. Prince Linter was stunned, not understanding why the demon was so powerful. The prince, with a smug smile, repeated that he had said it was the strongest under the Saint rank. No one below that level could defeat it. He also revealed that the previous Dark Saint Temple attack and the spy rumors were meant to force your headmaster to leave. The three were shocked, unable to grasp the prince's true intentions. The continent had just regained peace after 100 years of war between humans and dragons. Could it be that researching dragon blood and creating war machines like the Thunder Demon was to reignite the fires of war in the Empire? The prince didn't want to explain further, coldly ordering the Thunder Demon to deal with them since the geniuses knew too much. Under Erison's command, the three cast spells to raise 3 layers of shields to defend, but the Thunder Demon's attacks easily pierced through and pushed all of them back. The Fire Dragon Jaya and Erison were paralyzed and fell. Only Linter, trying to stand, realized his leg was broken. The Fire Dragon now lay right in front of the envoy, who looked pleased, his eyes flashing with ambition. Just take the pure dragon blood for research, and we will be the strongest on the continent. The prince approached Linter, singing arrogantly while correcting the envoy's words. The strongest is me, not us. He trampled on the betrayed envoy and coldly declared that the world only needed one king. Linter witnessed the man's madness, gritting his teeth, determined not to let the fire dragon fall into this guy's hands. Even if he had to die, he wouldn't allow him to successfully create the dragon blood medicine. Suddenly, the fire dragon vanished before the prince's eyes, causing him to roar in fury. Linter, where did you send the dragon? I arranged a series of teleportation runes that can't be activated. Linter's eyes flashed with defiance as he asked back, Are you sure every form of teleportation has been disabled? Realizing what Linter had done, the prince laughed scornfully. You really are a genius, Linter. Even if I kill you, I still can't find where you hid the dragon. He paused, his tone turning cold. But what if I kill Jaya? Linter was stunned. He had never considered that possibility. He couldn't hand over the fire dragon to this madman, but if not, Jaya would die. The prince smiled slyly and continued, Linter, why hesitate? On one side is a species despised by humans, on the other is a comrade who's been through life and death with you. How hard can it be to choose? He ordered the Thunder Demon to tighten its grip on Jaya. Linter's heart ached as he realized he had always put Jaya in danger. He had once believed that having the fire dragon by his side could protect everyone, but that arrogance now pushed everyone to the brink of life and death. Suddenly, Jaya shouted in a trembling but resolute voice, Linter, don't choose me. Don't let him threaten us. After all, I am a child of the Empire, ready to die for it. To silence her, the prince ordered the Thunder Demon to violently throw Jaya to the ground. Linter's helpless scream echoed, mixed with the prince's mocking laughter. Our Zia is truly magnificent. Linter, do you see? This is the consequence of opposing me, but don't worry, I won't harm you. I'll send you back home after dealing with Zia and then your family's mother. Can you bear to watch everyone die right before your eyes just to protect the man-eating dragon? Those words ignited a fire of rage within Linter. He swore he would risk his life to drag that prince down to the grave. The prince sneered, mocking Linter's broken leg, but just as Linter seemed about to collapse, the prince suddenly froze, eyes wide with shock. Suddenly, 2 figures of Erison appeared out of nowhere. As Eroson's thunder strike surged toward the Thunder Demon, it was completely stunned, and at the same time, countless blades unexpectedly appeared behind the monster, causing the prince to roar in fury. He couldn't believe anyone could hurt his demon until he saw the headmaster Deliston standing before him. His face pale as he muttered, My life is over. Erison calmly explained that from the moment the first thunderstrike shattered the fire dragon's breath, Linter knew they had no chance of winning. He released the illusion dragon Izo, transforming it into my form, along with the water stream Mina. Izo sprouted wings and quickly flew away. Surprisingly, while searching for reinforcements as Izo rushed out of the barrier, preventing instant teleportation. Another teleportation circle lit up on its shoulder. It turned out the headmaster had guessed the prince was deliberately luring him away, so he left teleportation marks on both Linter and Izo. The headmaster looked at Linter with meaningful eyes. "You're lucky to have companions like these who helped me find you." Linter was filled with gratitude, silently thinking how truly fortunate he was. "Izia am always ready to take the fatal blow for you." Izo, though often revealing secrets, always yearns to help everyone. And Mina the water dragon, summoned after collecting enough dragon shard proofs, is a testament to your effort. Linter whispered that he truly must thank them all. Back in reality, the prince panicked, trying to escape, and the headmaster ordered Erosine to chase after him. Since the thunder demon was defeated and the teleportation circle couldn't function, and the prince didn't know magic, he couldn't escape Erosine's speed. He mocked the one who set the runes to stop their escape, now only blocking his own path. But Linter's eyes blazed with determination to stop Erosine. "Let me. I want to catch him myself." Although Erosine worried about Linter's broken leg seeing the resolve in his eyes, he nodded in understanding and used Mina's water to create wings for Linter. Within seconds, they caught up to the prince. Linter delivered a powerful punch to the prince's back, causing him to collapse terrified and begging, "Don't kill me. I don't need your dragon anymore. I'll give you the dragon blood formula to become the strongest on the continent." Linter shook his head in frustration, not bothering to respond to the prince's insane ambition. Through the prince, they captured many other assassins. Linter was recognized as a hero for stopping the rebellion. The king held a grand celebration feast, but the joy was incomplete since Zia, seriously wounded in the battle, was still unconscious. Linter hadn't met her once since then. Suddenly, Princess Delia appeared, someone who had never attended community parties before. She stepped forward with the gentle yet commanding voice of a genius from the Holy Iris Academy. "I've heard of you for a long time. May I have the honor to invite you to dance?" That voice was familiar to Linter. Turning around, he was stunned to see a girl who made his face flush. Memories flooded back of the first time he met Jeha. He had thought she looked like a senior student with a smile as cute as Vivian's. No wonder her hands were so soft. No wonder she called herself a child of the Empire. It turned out Zia was Princess Delia. Whether Zia or Delia, the person before Linter, was still the lovable, trustworthy, and respectful girl he knew. Linter was honored to accept the Empire Princess's invitation to dance.